All right, guys. Today we have another episode of Real Talk. This one's not Real Talk Chicago just because the interviewee is not actually from Chicago. I know typically we do tend to stick to Chicago creatives and entrepreneurs, but as you guys know who follow the network, we often do have interesting people from outside of the Chicagoland area. Now, for anybody who has been following the network a while, you probably remember one of the biggest episodes we did was our flat Earth debate. That was way back when, I think in 2018 now at this point. I don't know who John Knows is, but he definitely said flat power, so he must be familiar with our guest here today, who we're going to be bringing in a minute here. We got D Marble backstage right now. A few things that I did want to touch base on before we really get into D Marble. This Saturday, we do have our upcoming Outside comedy show. The links to get the tickets is in the bio. If you use the promo code Mogul VIP, you will get 40% off. I didn't put that anywhere because that's just for the people who actually listen. We appreciate each one of you guys. Now, there's a lot more that I'll get into over the course of the interview, but for now, we're just going to go ahead and bring our guest in. I'm going to let him introduce himself. He is known as D Marble. He has a very successful online platform as far as talking these topics. I'm going to go ahead and bring him in and let him introduce himself.
All right. What's up, folks? My name's Daryl D Marble. I've been on this journey as a YouTuber since I want to say about 2015. Actually, I actually started off doing some, random acts of kindness. I was trying to be a fitness type of person in the early stages.
So are you like a trainer?
Yeah, well, not a trainer. I mean, I just started off. I was like, okay, I'm gonna start a YouTube channel. I'm gonna work out, and because I was really into fitness and all that, always in the gym, trying to work that out. I ended up doing some competitions and all that. Actually won a couple of competitions back in the day. But yeah.
Okay, so you were like a physique competitor?
Actually, yes, I was.
Okay.
That stuff isn't really on my channel. It's like the old stuff before anybody even knew me. I did a couple of political videos early in the day, and then I had about 27 subscribers with my hard work. That was my success right there.
Okay.
So
you went from fitness guy and just talking a little bit of politics and sharing your opinions online to D Marble, internationally known flat Earth guy.
Yeah. See what happened. I really didn't pick out one single thing that I was going to do. It was just kind of an archive. I never set out to be a one-dimensional character. I always wanted to kind of switch it up. So I would get on. I would talk a little flat Earth. I would talk some fitness, some politics, or whatever else was on my mind. But I joined a group on Facebook. It was my first time joining a flat Earth group on there, and I was interacting with them, and I was trying to make some noise in the group and all that, and I had an idea when I was talking to a friend of mine, Omar, and these guys at my job, it was like 5 guys I would used to go hang out with every now and then. 2 of them were like flat earthers. 2 of them were hardcore for the globe, and there was this one guy who was kind of in the middle, and I was like trying to convince him. So I was trying to get his mind wrapped around the concept. I'm like, look, the thing that makes the Earth a globe would be detectable curvature and like measurable motion. You know what I mean? Or vice versa. Measurable curvature, detectable motion. There'll be the 2 things that you got to prove in order to say definitely that we're living on a spinning ball.
Right.
And so I was trying to break it down to him. Using a simple idea. I'm like, okay, look, we're in Tacoma. Portland's like 2 hours away. So if you have a level and the bubble stays centered here in Tacoma, and you keep that thing adjusted to where it's going to be flush, and then you drive down to Portland and the bubble's still level like that, it's proven pretty much that we didn't go over any curvature. But I was like, nah, that's not really going to work. Because if you do that drive, how are you going to keep the level flush the whole time? But I did have an idea later. I was like, well, wait a minute. I got a flight coming up. I'm going to go visit my daughter for her birthday. What if I took the level onto an airplane and then documented that?
Okay, so it wasn't like just out of the blue, these people won't believe me. Let me take a level on a plane. So for the listeners, for the people who are unfamiliar with you. All right. So D Marble, I'm actually gonna show your YouTube page here. I'm gonna get that pulled up. And just D Marble is, yes, a flat earther. And this is obviously the Mogul Minds channel. So you've been doing this for quite a while. We see you got upward of 50,000 subscribers, which is no small feat, especially when I happen to know for a fact that when you do content like yours, you are shadow banned, you are pushed down in the algorithms. They do just unsubscribe people from your channel. People will never know that you've been making content if they don't have notifications and go back and check your page. So this is something you've been doing for quite a while now, and we were talking a little bit, before the live stream started. Okay, we were talking a little bit before the live stream started, and you were telling me that you've done quite a few different experiments, and we're going to get into a few of those over the course of this conversation. But the one that you're specifically talking about right now, you took an actual level. So anybody who's familiar with any type of construction or anything along those lines, you took an actual level onto an airplane. Now, D Marble, could you please explain to us why taking a level on an airplane actually makes a difference in proving, the flat earth or not? Because what I'm thinking is, if we believe in the globe, right, and most people who believe in the globe have never actually thought about what it would take for something to fly over, a sphere. Mm-hmm. And you would think that ideally the pilots would be flying on a curve, just going down a little bit, like the handles would be tilted because you got to match with the curve of the earth, right? Yeah, but what you're saying is that's not the case.
Right, exactly. Well, the reason why I did that is basically because, I was looking at the science of the globe, right? Mm-hmm. So in the flat earth community, we all got familiarized with the equation to calculate for curvature, like 8 inches per mile squared. So
right, that's what they say.
Right. So, the Earth is supposed to be 24,000 some miles in circumference. Mm-hmm. We're supposed to be able to measure it 8 inches per mile squared. Okay, so what I did, I looked at, this flight that I was on. It was from North Carolina back to Seattle. All right. Now, if we're talking about covering a certain amount of distance, I need to know right about how far I'm going to be flying. So I look at the specs of the airplane that I'm going to be on. I was on an A321 Airbus from American Airlines, and the cruising speed is 515 miles per hour. I was like, all right, cool. So then I took a time lapse of 23 minutes, 45 seconds. Now, at 515 miles per hour, with that time lapse of 23:45, that would cover a distance of, I believe it was around 208 miles, something like that. We would have. It was right around 208 miles, right?
I believe that's what you were saying, and I just got in the background for the viewers. Yeah, actually, a video of you actually on the plane taking off. They can clearly see that you're not delusional. You did get on a plane with I like how you paused it right there. It was like curvature with the flat line.
Yeah,
I do think that's funny.
Dude, because there was so many people on that spirit level video who were like, why don't you just look out the window? I'm like, look, dummy. As often as I fly, and I fly a lot, okay, fine. You think I've never sat by a window? You don't think the first thing I would do in determining whether or not I live on a globe would be to look out the window? Obviously, I would look out the window. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm just gonna get, what you're showing here. This is a flight from Little Rock to Houston, I believe it is, or like Little Rock to Dallas, one of those. And I'm like, where's the curvature? Just giving a quick lesson. But on that, let me see, on that spirit level. So 515 miles, 23 minutes, 45 seconds is the time lapse. And so the plane had traveled 203.85 miles if I remember correctly. And so at that distance, that means that the airplane, judging by spherical trigonometry or calculations for, determining whether or not we live on a globe, the airplane should have had to dip the nose in order to compensate for over 5 miles of curvature. Right.
And what you're saying, that's from Arkansas to Texas, right?
No, that was the flight from North Carolina to Seattle.
Okay.
I recorded 203 miles of level flight, and that's when I had the level on the tray table, and the bubble was pretty much in the center the whole time.
I think it's really funny. I'm gonna read this comment that somebody just had, but I think it's really funny that I type in D Marble spirit level, and I can find your page. Your page will come up, but before the actual video of you, it's a bunch of different debunker videos of you, of like you being debunked, right? And I need people to understand that this is a structured function of YouTube's algorithm with specific types of content. It's not to give you the most viewed. It's not to give you what you look for. It's to give you what they want you to see and or hear. And that's not my opinion. That's the actual facts of the matter. But we do, Ja down the lane just said, that level on a plane test or a level to a period is a checkmate. The sun and moon in the sky during the day in the same time frame, it is another checkmate to the heliocentric globalist model. Ja down the lane, I was telling D Marble prior to us actually starting the live stream 3-4 years ago, I did a podcast where I just hosted. I was behind the cam. I'm not even in the podcast. Two of my guys, both smart guys. One follows the globe model, one follows the flat earth model. I had never heard an actual flat earther in long format break these things down. I was attempting to edit in post-production and do a tally system based on the scientific method, and the flat earther won. Still to this day, like I say, I'm not a flat earther until I can go and test and prove myself. I need a couple $1 billion so we could fly over Antarctica and see what Admiral Byrd was talking about. But even then, it gets weird because there's international treaties that stop us from doing these things and shit that just sounds conspiratorial.
Yeah,
if you ask the average person. But so I just say all that to say I was having a little bit of trouble finding the exact video that I know I just watched recently, but I will pull up this playlist that you have available to the public, and I'll put it in the bio of this episode also. Okay. And this playlist, D Marble, if you could just tell us a little bit about this specific playlist. And it says Evidence for Flat Earth.
Yeah, that's a playlist of like my greatest hits, Okay. Like if you're wanting to check out my channel and see what I deem to be some of my best proofs of living on a stationary plane, that's the playlist you want to check out. And what I would do, I would just try to make my videos real quick, real concise, straight to the point, and then I would just throw my hands up, walk away. Like, okay, that's the information. You can do with it what you please, But that's what it is. So I got the next video. The idea that the moon is reflecting light from the sun. I went out and I tested the direct moonlight versus the same objects being in the shade, and the objects that were in the direct moonlight came out to be a few degrees cooler than the objects that were in the shade.
So I have a question about that. I posted a status or a video after I did that podcast that I was telling you about. And this is all, as I'm doing my research, I'm finding names like Allegedly Dave, who we're going to have on the podcast soon. Nate Thompson, and then Eric Dubé, Eddie Bravo, a bunch of different people. But your name was always in those circles as well. Right. And one of the things that I found the most interesting is he was talking about reflecting sunlight off of the moon. And then my guy who was a part of the podcast on the Flat Earth side, he was saying, I'm sorry. The guy who was a part of the Globe said, if what you were saying was true and they're both luminaries, we'd be able to measure light coming from the moon. And we don't do that. And as I was looking into that, I found out, well, not only do we do that, but you can do that. Mm-hmm. And you can do it by just buying something from Home Depot that tests, heat signatures at a distance. Yep. And I thought that was wild because everybody I was seeing doing it online seemed to be finding that moonlight is colder than moon shade. And that is also what you have in this experiment here, right?
Yes. Yep. Went and grabbed a laser thermometer.
Mm-hmm.
I just took, piece of aluminum foil, bottle of water, glass, metal weight, something, just four different items. And then I'll just point the laser thermometer over here, point it on the other side, and the stuff that was in the moonlight all turned out to be a little bit cooler than the stuff that was in the shade, and I separated it using a piece of plywood, basically.
What are the implications of that, Mr. Marble here, sir?
Well, what that is, in my opinion, and look, I'm just going for the simple stuff just to get people thinking, because the idea, they're saying, well, the moon is reflecting light from the sun. Okay, well, that it doesn't really square with what's being shown in reality, because when I go test the moonlight, it's showing that the moonlight is actually putting out a light that's a little bit colder than the objects that are in the shade, not in direct moonlight. So
would you say that then means that the moon is emitting cold light?
I would say that, yeah, that would be my conclusion.
I can't understand what other conclusions we could come up with knowing that to be fact. Once we test it and prove it ourselves, and like you said, go get a laser thermometer from Home Depot, Menards, or whatever your local supply store is, and test it yourself. Use foil or something that the light is going to be bouncing off of, because at that point you at least know you're getting a direct light source on it, and you can test it. Like you put up a wooden divider, ain't no light making it through the wooden divider. Exactly. So then the way you did the experiment, like you said, you tried to keep it short, sweet. It makes sense. It's not an hour and a half where people are going to get bored in the first 3 minutes and turn it off and say, this flat earther don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah. And the thing is, I had people coming back saying that, no, you're debunked because the difference is the air. If I would have gone, I wish I'd have gone to that place and showed them exactly where I was going to be from when it was daytime, because that place where I was at, it was out in an open field. So there was plenty of room. It wasn't in my backyard or anything like that. I was out in an open field, so the air was coming in equally on both sides. So I just didn't, I wasn't thorough enough in showing them the exact area where I was going to be doing that experiment at. But yeah.
Okay. So if you were to do it in the future, you would already frame it from the context of, here's what the naysayers are going to say, so let me make sure to address it ahead of time.
Yeah, that's what I try to do typically with all my stuff. If possible, I'll try to think ahead and like, okay, so what are these people going to say? So what I would do if I had my chance to do it again, this particular experiment, I would start the video off with a time lapse. I would set up my weights and I would set up the bottles and the glass and all that stuff, and I would just have the camera locked onto it while it's daytime and do a time lapse all the way to when it turns into night. Just so they know exactly where I'm at. I would show the whole area. I'm in this huge open field. This is where I'm at. The air is all coming in equally, so I don't want to hear it.
Okay, so there's quite a few different topics we're definitely going to be getting into. I think Flat Earth Offensive is funny. And if you wanted, we could always throw that on some merch as well. But I'm definitely sending you a Nah Son for sure. And have you ever been to Chicago?
I have not.
So before we get into these other topics, let's get a little bit more into your life and where you're from, D Marvel.
Okay.
So, because I know people tend to think that all flat earthers are crazy. We're only like 20 minutes or so into our actual interview here. I want to, get a little bit into your life. Where are you from?
I'm from North Little Rock, Arkansas.
Okay, so northern Arkansas. And what was growing up in northern Arkansas like? Is that the burbs, or what's that like? Were you in the city?
We were in the city. It was kind of I don't know. We were in a pretty nice neighborhood, Okay. It wasn't out in the country, anything like that. I wasn't, close to the fishing hole, nothing like that. Okay. My neighbors weren't 2 miles away on the next farm, anything like that. I was, a regular neighborhood. Went to a high school in the city and all that. Oh shoot! About to kick over my computer here. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool. We got our areas where, there's the hood and all that,
Mhm.
but that was a few streets down from where I stayed at.
So,
So
for the most part, it sounds like you had a regular upbringing. Nothing like no extenuating traumatic circumstances that like you weren't raised by some like crazy person in a bunker telling you all types of foolishness about flat earth and falling off the edge and stuff like that.
no,
So it by that logic, then it's safe for me to assume that in school you kind of learned all the same stuff that everybody else learned, right?
yeah. Yes, I mean just the same. I mean, North Little Rock School District isn't, teaching flat Earth theory, anything like that. We learn the same globe stuff as everybody else, But the idea is to look at what you were taught and then try to balance that against what you see in your day to day experience and see if it makes sense.
Test those theories versus your observable reality, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So you grew up in the church then, because a lot of people now, D Marble, and this is where some people will attempt to immediately discredit you, because a lot of people who follow along the flat Earth ideology um, tend to be hardcore, what some people would call Bible thumpers, overly religious, however you want to frame it.
no,
Um, me personally, just a little bit about my background for you. I grew up with one parent who was Christian, one parent who was Muslim. So I've been to both Islamic school and Christian school and Catholic school or whatever.
no.
And in my personal experience, there's way more similar about all those religions than there are different. That's why they're the Abrahamic religions, right? The Old Testament kind of goes across all these different religions, no matter how you look at it. It's all Old Testament to some degree.
Yeah,
Now, you grew up in the church, if I understand correctly.
right. Yeah, my dad's a pastor. Actually, he's a bishop. Has his own church in Little Rock now, and yeah, he's been preaching since I was breathing. Actually,
Is your dad a flat earther?
uh, yeah, actually, yeah. Because
Was he a flat earther prior to you?
no, he wasn't.
And he was
But
already a pastor and bishop, right?
yeah,
Okay.
the thing is like what I think happened with pops and like a lot of other people. That you just go along with life and you don't really even question it. You don't even question these things. You just hear about this stuff and you're like, all right, cool, and just go along with it. But then when you really sit down and think about it after a while, like myself, I didn't, I wasn't always a flat earther either. I wasn't a hardcore glober. I would think about, okay, yeah, the Earth is kind of screwed up. I do hope they figure it out to where I can go to another planet one of these days. You know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
these people are crazy. So if I can freeze my body and go to another planet 100 years in the future or something, then yeah, that'd be great.
Dude,
But
I wanted cryostasis too. I wanted that shit.
I wanted all that. I was thinking like Avatar. You know what I'm saying?
I
You
was
put
thinking
yourself.
Demolition Man, but yeah, I
Yeah,
feel you.
yeah, something like that. I wanted to do that stuff, and I was believing that it was possible. But then when I really sat down and started to think about it, I'm like, wait a minute, we're supposed to be spinning how fast now? A
Mhm.
1,000 miles per hour. Like a day like it is right now outside. There's no wind blowing. It's all just just really peaceful out there. And you go stand outside and you could just feel the stillness.
So this begs the question then. Since you didn't grow up like that, your
Mm.
parents didn't teach you flat earth, what was your come to realize it? What was the moment that made you start to question your reality?
At that point, the thing that started me going down the rabbit hole was 9/11. Essentially, my first venture into conspiracy theories was the movie Fahrenheit 9/11 by Michael Moore.
Back when
And
he was still. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, well, there was that, and I had an interest in that because I was in the army for 8 years, and I was in the army when 9/11 happened, and I ended up deploying to Iraq in
Oh,
oh
how old are
04,
you?
oh 04, oh 05. 39 actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't like you're a healthy guy. You can't tell. You know, it's hard to tell without the couple of grays in your beard. You could probably pull off like, oh, I'm 33, 32.
Yeah, about 28, 28 and a half, you know.
All
But
right. So you were in the military when you had already enlisted when 9/11 happened.
yeah, I had been in for just a few months actually. Let me see. Yeah, about a year. That was my first year in, and I got in the army right after high school. I'd gone through basic training, AIT. I went to Fort Lewis in February, and then 7 months later, it's September, and the post is locked down. There's the freeways backed up. They're checking everybody's ID coming on the post all of a sudden. They tighten up security that way. I was like, okay, what the heck's going on? We get back, and I happen to be in an infantry unit.
Okay.
And I get back to the company, and I mean, these guys are gathered around a TV. Everybody got on their gear with their, trying to go get their M16s out the arms.
They're combat suited, right?
Yeah, they're acting like we about to deploy right now. I'm like,
right, okay,
what's going on here? And I was the supply guy. So I was like, I ain't about to go shoot nobody. What's going on?
So your job was what? What do they call MOS? Your job was what in the military?
My MOS was 92 Yankee. I was a unit supply specialist, and so my role it varies from unit to unit. So in the infantry unit, I was ordering the supplies. I was the arms room soldier. I would be in there for hours on end, issuing weapons to the infantry soldiers and signing those out and all that stuff. I would, when they have to come back from a field training exercise, I'd have to open up the arms room and just be sitting in there for hours while they're all cleaning their weapons. It was, yeah.
So you're doing a ton of inventory related logistical stuff with all the weaponry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then for the listeners, for the people who are familiar with my content, and for the people who are not, we have touched on the topic of 9/11 in the past. We're not going to spend a ton of time on it here today. D Marble is going to talk about a couple of his things. If you want to listen to in depth the reason that people question the events of that day and the official narrative, not whether or not lives were lost. I think it's 2,997 lives were lost that day, and each one is a tragedy, especially when used for financial gain or psychological operations on unwilling participants. Yeah. Go ahead and continue what you were saying, D Marble.
All right, so yeah, okay. So let me reel it in. 9/11, that was my first experience in looking into the so-called conspiracy theories. So there was that. I already and I had looked into that after I had already gotten out of the army, because I would have been entirely too pissed off to continue putting on that uniform if I would realize that I got played and I got sent over there and spent a year of my life in the sandbox based on some old BS. You know what I'm saying? So I looked at it after I was out of the army, and that was my first outing. By the time I came across Flat Earth, I'd gotten in all kinds of stuff.
Had you ever come across Behold a Pale Horse at that point?
Yes, I had the book. I got it on audiobook,
Right. And for people who are unfamiliar, how would you describe that book? To just elevator pitch real quick for somebody who is in early on like you were.
Yeah. Let me see the book. Behold a Pale Horse by William Cooper. That was an in-depth look of what's going on in society concerning the societal programming, how secret societies are manipulating the overall narrative concerning concerning the family unit, concerning herding people into these different ideologies,
psychological operations, right?
Yeah, huge psyops.
Known as psyops for the listeners.
Yeah.
And William Cooper, it was a decorated military official at one point, right?
Yes, he was. He was, and he was part of those secret societies, and he was blowing the whistle, and he even put in the book, if I end up dying under mysterious circumstances, it was the Masons that killed me, and that dude ended up dying under mysterious circumstances. So,
like I said, for anybody who wants a history or anything like that of the Masons and why I continuously bomb on them and will never stop, because me personally, I don't believe that knowledge should be hidden, first and foremost. Secondly, I got into, I don't know if you're familiar with Asir, the Duke of Tears.
No.
Check out the episode that we did. I'll send it to you afterwards. It's called Freemasonry Exposed, and he's a Moorish scholar. He's a like PhD in jurisprudence. He gets into a lot of stuff. He's been teaching for quite a while.
All right.
Cool. Yeah, but Freemasonry Exposed for anybody who wants to learn more about that. And like he was saying, Behold a Pale Horse, William Cooper. It kind of really, along his search for truth, kind of one of the many things that helped open up your eyes. And then you come to what that makes you say, oh shit. Because it's one thing to question the things that are going on, in our day-to-day lives and the things they show us on TV.
Yeah.
How do you start to question the shape of the earth?
It was actually accidental to a degree, because around the time I bumped into flat earth, it was around 2015. I was living with my girlfriend at the time, and we were hardcore into, quote, conspiracy theories, unquote. So we were
her and you. It's sometimes it's harder to find women who will actually pay attention to it.
Yeah, that was good stuff. We were a conspiracy couple. So we got into that stuff hardcore together, and we would just come home from work and we would just be on YouTube for hours. Like, all right, so what's going on tonight? What are we watching? Boom, we're going to get into this. We're going to check this out. After a while, we started, having kind of a negative feeling about, where we are and what's going on. And we were like, okay, we got to decompress for a little bit. So let's turn on some Netflix for a while and just kind of chill. Let's just watch some mindless entertainment, get away from the negativity of reality for a little while, unplug, and then we'll come back to it later. So we ended up watching this series called Under the Dome.
Oh shit, yeah. Which is funny. I actually started that not long ago, which is super funny because that's a part of their psychological operations. The way that they show you things, they show you truth in jest, right?
Yeah. So we ended up watching that, all 3 seasons, and we got to the end. And when you get to the end of Netflix, you're like, or you finish binge watching the series, you're like, all right, now what?
Right.
So part of our thing, we go back to the default. We go back to YouTube looking for, outtakes, bloopers, or behind the scenes interviews or whatever, I guess, and type in the search Under the Dome. Right. So the first video that pops up, the thumbnail of it is this Earth, okay, with a dome over it. It looks like it's out in space. There's water leaking over the edges. And so I click on that real quick. And it was a compilation of Mark Sargent's Flat Earth Clues.
Okay. I actually listened to his audiobook.
Yeah. So, but the title of that video was Under the Dome. So we were thinking it was connected. I was like, what's going on here? Click and then check it out. And then he just starts off, okay, this is some of the more interesting topics surrounding the flat Earth concept. Pause. Did he say flat Earth? Flat Earth. What's flat Earth?
Right.
Hit play, and then we ended up watching that video. It was like a 2-hour compilation. We ended up watching that a few times, starting on a Friday night. And then by like Sunday afternoon, we're like, yeah, pretty sure the Earth is flat. It didn't take that long.
You guys super long.
Heck no, because we already didn't trust the government. We're like, yo, they would lie to us about 9/11. They would lie to us about this whole monetary system. We got people over here starving. They start these BS wars to enrich a small group of so-called elites. So yeah, they would lie to us about where we are. Sure, they probably lied about the moon landing. Yep, I figured that. So yeah, Earth is probably flat.
For anybody who has questions on that and who's still in that, they couldn't lie about that because what about the moon landing or something along those lines? Look, we did an episode called NASA, Hoax or Heroes. Heroes or Hoaxers, something like that. Anyway, look, ain't no Freemasons ever landed on the moon, and I'm not 100% that the moon is a solid object that you could land on if you wanted to.
Nope.
But that is, somebody's asking if we could pull up, this is actually some of, send it to us. Send it through us through the comments. Send us links through the comments. Somebody is backstage. That looks like the homie Picasso, one of the producers associated with the network here. We got a couple of producers and engineers, like you met one before we hopped on. Now, Under the Dome You watched the series, you hopped online. Mark Sargent was the one who opened your eyes. So you said it only really took you about a weekend of research to really come to the conclusion that, okay, at the very least, don't know what we're on, don't think it's a globe, and it's potentially flat at this point.
Yeah.
And okay, so you went from that in a weekend to what? What's next? What's next in this? You started talking about it online, and you getting met with that hardcore resistance.
No, what I mean, it's like she and I we went further down the rabbit hole. We started watching stuff from Dave Weiss. We're watching some ODD. We're watching Eric Dubé, more Mark Sargent stuff, and we're just going through and we're just watching flat Earth stuff all day, like for a while, and we're talking to each other about these different things. We couldn't talk to anybody else because first thing people are going to want to do is kind of debate. So rather than getting into that, we're just basically spending that time kind of studying each of the different aspects of it and going into it that way. And so later on, it's like we try to talk to a couple of people that were acting like we were crazy. I wanted to talk to a couple of family members about it, but when I did that, it wasn't met with the best degree of reception. Because most normal people, they got stuff going on and they got their job and the different family and social obligations. And so when you bring up something outside of that, they'll just be like, okay, and then go on with their business, So
ridicule.
Yeah. Well, luckily my family didn't do a whole lot of ridiculing me. They were just like, all right, they'll smile and nod. But what I ended up doing is I would just think about a couple of different points that I wanted to put out there, like the sun and the moon being in the sky at the same time, stuff like that. So I would do this short little video, and it's like I started doing video production because of Flat Earth. I got more into video production. I downloaded this actual video editing software, Cute Cut Pro. I still got it. I still got it installed on my computer. My original program. It's like a little $30 program, little rinky-dink thing. You can put some words in here, a little video, add a little something on there, and then just work from there. And I would put a little video together, and then I would say, "Hey, check this out," and then I would open up my laptop, turn it on, and then I walk away. Be like, "Hey, watch this," and I let the video explain what I didn't feel like explaining to my family.
Which makes a ton of sense. Jod down the lane said the moon is plasma and NASA has satanic roots. NASA was definitely started by Nazis, and anybody who says otherwise is lying to you, and you should probably be very suspicious of that person. They're probably also a Mason. But yeah, that just happens to be the fact. Now, I don't know that the moon is plasma. I understand the thought process, and I understand that actual real scientists, prior to any of us being alive, understood this way. Even if you think about, are you a fan of like the comic Marvels, the MCU movies, Marvel?
Oh yeah.
If you pay attention early in Thor, I think like Thor 1 or so, they talk about the ether. And prior to outer space, the common understanding was the ether, the measurable force around us, in between us, everything that is not us essentially is that ether. And I think it's funny that they show us these things, in the MCU or in mainstream movies, and then on the back end say, "Nah, you're crazy. Get that shit out of here." Globe.
Yeah.
Zero proof.
They do that. So they have that reaction. They'll put that out there like, "Oh man, you've been watching too many movies." That's the exact response why they do that stuff. They'll put truth in movies. They'll put the truth out there like that, just so people come back and say, "You've been watching too many movies." You're like, no, this is actually what it is. They just put truth in movies just so you say what you just said, you freaking sheep. So
yeah, there's a lot of sheeple out here, willing sheeple. Appreciate One Light. This is a great episode. They appreciate you, D Marble. Appreciate One Light Records.
Cool. Thank you.
So Tale of Two. So I see one of the questions that I have on the list here for you is about these. I've done quite a bit of flat Earth research,
Mhm.
if you will. And I'll be honest, me, like most people will tell you who actually ended up in flat Earth, sought out to debunk it. I wanted to figure out what it was specifically that it, like there's certain, like, for example, we have a shirt on our website that's about a specific date that I won't mention now, but it was mentioned earlier. And it's a picture. It's a Valentine's Day shirt. It's a picture of like a cute little barrel of jet fuel and then a steel beam. And it's like, am I making you melt yet? You know? So we'll get you one of those too. Make sure to send that out too. Right, cool. And for if you know, is all I'll say about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sun rays through the clouds. In our flat Earth video that we did, one of the videos that I found most interesting that I put ahead of our video, I put a couple of videos ahead of the actual debate just to get the conversation started and to get people questioning.
Yeah,
there's this one video. Well, there's two videos of these guys these pilots in an airplane. They're at like 38,000 feet or something along those lines. Since then, I've actually talked to pilots myself, asked questions. Pilots have told me, people who've flown planes have told me they cannot see curvature when they're out there. Like they've seen UFOs and showed me pictures of UFOs.
Yeah,
but they have not seen curvature. In this video that I saw, it looked like to me that the sun was below some clouds. What's all this about the cloud, the sun rays, and where they hit the clouds, and why this is actually has anything to do with flat Earth? Can you tell us a little bit about that, Mr. Marble?
Well, if I understand correctly, and this is just my thought about it, they tell us that the sun is so far away from the Earth, right?
93 million miles.
93 million miles away from the Earth. And so if the sun is shining so brightly, so far away, the rays from the sun should be hitting the Earth parallel. Like it should be just a straight light.
One whole side of the Earth should be covered, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All the time. We shouldn't be able to see it like in this little experiment that I'm showing right now. What I'm showing is how the light source is so far away. Mm-hmm. And then, when you bring it in close, then it's like the rays kind of spaced out like that. You know what I mean? But the way that we see the crepuscular rays coming through the clouds at these different angles, it doesn't match up to the sun being that far away. You see, mm-hmm. like what's going on right there is like the light is, that much closer. So, and
that's how we see it on the clouds in some of these videos, right? Like where the light's spotlighted on the clouds, like it's super close, not like how you took it away.
Yeah.
And it's so much further.
Yeah, because I put the little, I'd actually, put the little holes in the box, and then I put the little dots in there just showing if the light is so far away, then the light should be coming straight down through the clouds. But then I'll bring it there, and it's like the light spreads out. So that's what you're seeing right there. So the way that we see the crepuscular rays spacing out through the clouds, it just proves that the sun is close and local. It's a small local sun that we're dealing with here, not something 93 million miles away. Like it's shown right there. The rays are all spaced out, man.
And basically what you're saying is the way that we see it right here, right now on the screen, this is impossible if the sun is 93 million miles away, because ideally, if it's going to be shining this bright, it should be shining this bright everywhere that you see clouds.
Yeah.
Right? Everywhere that there's a break in the clouds, it should be shining that bright because the sun, therefore the light source is that far away, is the way I understand what you're saying.
Absolutely.
So I think that why you're such a good person to have done this episode is because, and for anybody who's listening in audio format, we are showing, they're on mute, we are showing videos of the experiments that D Marble has done. I put the link to his channel in the bio. Make sure you go like, comment, subscribe, change, his place in the algorithm, because I guarantee you if we're shadow banned, he's definitely shadow banned. And I found out they're doing it on social media too. Like my podcast page, my original personal page, it had quite a few followers. They got rid of that the day after the elections, which is crazy because I never posted pro-Trump anything. Mm-hmm. At most, I posted like Malcolm X talking about not being fooled by these liberals.
Yeah,
and but that apparently is enough to end me up on that list to get yeeted. Yep. So that was one experiment that you did, a tale of two flights. So one of the things that people tend to say is, oh, you think the earth is flat? Have you never actually been on a plane? You get on any plane, and you were actually military, and then you've traveled internationally as well?
Yes.
Okay, so I would say that you've probably been on more airplanes than the average American then.
I would venture to say so, yes.
Okay. So a tale of two flights. What is this experiment?
All right. Most of them, they're not. I wouldn't even classify them as experiments. These are just observations. Okay. This is what I do. Like I show people what I see. That's it. I'm not saying this is what it is. This is what it's not. I'm just like, hey, this doesn't make sense according to what we've been told. So a tale of two flights. I haven't looked into that one in a while, but if I remember correctly, this is about the flight path. Now, there was a couple of flights where there was one situation where there was a woman who was pregnant. I believe they were flying from like the Philippines back to the U.S. And the thing is that, let me see what happened there. The flight had to take an emergency landing, and it ended up landing in I believe it was like Canada. You know what I mean?
I think you have some articles. Yeah. Boom. So caught on camera. Amazing moment. A woman gives birth to a premature baby girl at 30,000 feet on a Taiwan to Los Angeles flight with crew and passengers helping out.
Yeah. And so what happened, the flight had to make an emergency stop in like Alaska, something like that. You know what I'm saying? It went way, way up north instead. But the idea on a globe, you got your globe, and I'm like, okay, so from Taiwan to LA, mm-hmm. if they're going straight across the water, they would have made an emergency landing. They should have made that emergency landing in like Hawaii, if mm-hmm. anything, because it should have been like a straight shot across the Pacific. And that's about where they should have ended up at. Instead, they deviate way up north, mm-hmm. According to the globe, and then land in Alaska somewhere or Canada, and then they have to fly right back down south. See?
So yeah, I'm gonna pause it right here so you could explain to the people what they're looking at for the people actually viewing.
All right, so man, this is why I like. This is why I like my channel, because I'll forget what I'm talking about, but I always have the visuals just to go along with what I'm saying. And I'm like, what should have happened? They should have flown from Taiwan, right across the Pacific Ocean. And if they had to make an emergency landing, it should have been in Hawaii. They should have stopped at the hospital in Honolulu. Instead, she should have had the baby, and then they would have been like, all right, cool, we're going to fly from here, then we're going to go back to LA. Instead, what they did, they're flying from Taiwan and end up in Alaska. Mm-hmm. So so it's like they deviate way up north as if Alaska was like on the way to LA from Taiwan.
Which based on our understanding of the heliocentric model, heliocentric is the globe model, geocentric is the flat model. It makes zero sense for them to do this. As you see, it looks like you spent way more fucking money on gas. Like what I learned also researching Flat mm-hmm. Earth was a little bit more about planes, and they only actually are using gas during takeoff and landing, right? Outside of that, they're kind of just flying, in slipstreams of air.
Yes. And the turbines create this vortex, and they're just kind of pulling the air through those turbines and just gliding along that way.
Right. Okay. So I think you'll probably have it. Yeah. How it makes more sense in here. Like it doesn't make sense necessarily on the globe model, like you were saying, but I think you do show exactly how it makes what they did actually makes a lot more sense on the crazy conspiracy theorist flat earth model.
Yeah, although there's a lot of contention in the community about
The actual model.
the AE map, like what
Right.
you're seeing here. This is the azimuthal equidistant map,
Mm-hmm.
the traditional flat Earth map, but it's a straight line. So it makes sense that they would stop in Alaska from going from Taiwan because it's definitely on the way.
They would have hit there first, right?
Yeah,
Right. Hawaii
yeah,
wouldn't have made any sense because it would have been out here somewhere.
exactly,
Right.
exactly.
So I do get that. Let me see if I can make it bigger for the viewers. I do. So if you can see, there's a let's see. No, I don't think it'll zoom anymore. There's a straight line across from where they left to right here. They ended up stopping here in Alaska on the way to California, which would be right here.
Yep.
And D Marble's just showing that on the flat Earth map, that makes a ton more sense than actually on the globe map. And I understand that based on the way that I understand these maps, it's not overly difficult to understand if you actually go look at it. Now, I do got to ask D Marble. There's a lot of questions I'm sure you're so used to hearing, but our viewers, this is new information to a lot of them. So, okay. Well, if the Earth is flat, how come nobody's falling off the edge?
Well, one, and this is my opinion here. This is where I gotta speculate. One, I would say the answer to that is because one, we don't get to go anywhere near the edge. We don't get to go anywhere near the edge.
What does that mean exactly? We don't get to go anywhere near the edge.
Well, the idea behind the azimuthal equidistant model, that's the one I kind of prescribe to for the most part. The idea is that the Earth is surrounded by this 360-degree ice wall known as Antarctica. And the way that the world is set up basically is like we're kept so busy. We're kept so so far away from the economic resources available for the regular person that we can't get our luxury yacht stocked up with enough resources and get fuel and all that good stuff in order to go on to an individual expedition to go out to the to the ice wall, as it were, or out to Antarctica to check it out. Plus, there's restrictions on travel. There's the Antarctic Treaty, so it's like all the industrialized nations back in the 50s and 60s, they agreed on the idea that no one country is going to try to claim Antarctica, and so they have they got that on lock. So regular people can't just go there and check it out. It's all out there for anybody to see if you want to look into it.
Yeah, I just Googled it, went to the first result. They got, they got this. They literally have people believing, because people have repeated this foolishness to me, that it is to preserve wildlife is the reason that they won't let us go. We're literally talking about people who frack and destroy every aspect of the world in every conceivable way.
Yeah,
they want to protect a couple of penguins and some fucking polar ice caps. Okay, guys, the same people who signed dozens, if not hundreds, of treaties with the indigenous people of the Americas and broke every single one of them.
Yeah.
Okay, these are the people. Okay, I just want to make sure we're on the same page about who we're talking about here.
Yeah. That's them. They're all about preserving the wildlife. Okay. So there's one reason why we won't ever fall off the edge, because we can't get close enough to the edge to fall off. Two. Okay. My counter question would be, why do you feel like we're not able to fall off the edge of a globe? It makes more sense that we would fall off of a ball.
See, but if you ask them that question, you're gonna talk them into an oxymoron, because here, if you ask me that question, I would say, well, we don't fall off of the spinning ball because of gravity. So now we got to talk about gravity, D Marble. Don't tell me you don't believe in the theory of gravity.
No, I don't.
Why don't you believe in the theory of gravity?
Because so much in nature opposes the idea of gravity. I mean, this idea of this imaginary force that's so strong that it's keeping us all from flying off into space, because that's the traditional idea that people say, well, if it weren't for gravity, we'd all go flying off into space. I'm like, okay, let's go with that. Let's go with that.
Okay.
All right, so you're saying I can go outside in my van that happens to be like 4,000 pounds. Gravity is keeping that van tethered to the ground so it doesn't go flying away. Okay,
right.
So gravity's so strong it can keep that 4,000 pound van from flying off into space. But me being like 175 pounds, I can just walk around like it ain't nothing.
Yeah, or a butterfly, or a pigeon,
or a butterfly, or smoke, or dust, sand, whatever it may be. A helium balloon.
I was just going to ask you about that. I never thought about gravity being a theory. I didn't even realize that it's still classified as a theory 100 years later. Now, what that makes me think is, first and foremost, one, why is it still a theory and not, proven fact, scientific fact? And then two, when my guys in the flat earth debate were arguing, they were saying, the flat earther was saying, look, you don't need fucking gravity or any type of magical BS forces like that. There's density and buoyancy that just explain the overwhelming majority of what we perceive as gravity, which is, like you said, if you got two balloons, both with a pound of gas in them, one of them has oxygen, one of them has helium. We could ask everybody watching or listening right now, which one's going to go higher? And 9 out of 10 times, they're going to say the helium balloon's going to go higher.
Yep.
D Marble, if they're both a pound of gas, and the way that gravity works, based on, my public schooling teaching me, is the mass of the object. Essentially, gravity is stronger depending on the mass of the object, right?
Sure.
Okay, so if they're both a pound, why does gravity affect one differently than the other?
That's what I'm saying. So, I mean, that in itself, that's the oxymoron. Gravity is not affecting anything. The idea is about the space between the molecules, if I understand correctly, and that's kind of what happens. Now, you got your helium. Helium is lighter than oxygen, and so that pound of helium, that's the properties of that. It's going to cause that balloon to go up, whereas the pound of oxygen is it's oxygen. It's just going to do what oxygen does. It's like you can just blow up a balloon and you're just blowing. No, that's not even oxygen out there. You're blowing out carbon dioxide or whatever into the balloon. But yeah, it's just about the molecular composition of it.
So I got a topic that we got to get into while we're here, right? Because we're talking about gravity, and then along these lines is going to come up, okay, so then how come when you see them on the International Space Station, they're floating?
All right, so if I understand correctly, what happens, that same phenomenon can take place in these high speed, high altitude flights. So you can have there's actually these flights that people can get onto just to kind of have some fun. They got these hollowed out aircraft, and what happens, the pilot goes way up really fast, and then what happens, they do this parabolic maneuver where the plane's like taking a nosedive.
Okay.
For going down really fast, and what happens is on the inside of the cabin, it creates this effect where it's kind of weightless, where everybody's weightless, where you can float around and all that. So it's like you can, kind of look like you can fake anti-gravity, as it were, inside this plane.
To me, so I've never been up that high or done that experience, but it sounds like when you're on a roller coaster and you're at the peak and then you start to go down, for that brief moment, you feel your weightlessness.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty much the same thing. Only it's an extended period of time because you're up way high and that plane starts to dip back down and you're just like, oh snap. So then you can start floating around and stuff. So yeah, I mean, you can easily fake that. Easily.
Okay, so fine, D Marble, fine. You can fake that they're on the International Space Station. I don't know. I think that all those Freemasons are on the International Space Station, even though you see all types of weird stuff like them unscrewing things and the screws dropping to the ground, or weird wires hanging on their clothes, or their hair all stands up in a stupid direction instead of it being all over the place like it should be.
Right.
But forget all of those. What about the rovers on Mars, the Marble? You can't tell me that you think that's fake.
All right, man. So I think that's fake because what we're told again about the Earth, like, okay, so not only is the Earth supposed to be a spinning ball, not only are we, out in space tethered to nothing, we're just spinning, right? The Earth is also supposed to be moving. We're supposed to be orbiting around the sun, going like
at 66,000 miles an hour.
66,000 miles per hour. More of those right. Repeating Masonic type numbers, right? So not only is there that, then the sun's also moving through space. So the sun's going through space, and the Earth is moving around that, and Mars is somewhere way on the outskirts.
And we're on an axis. Don't forget the axis.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, tilted. What's that? 34? Is it 33? What's the tilt again?
I think it's something like 33. I think it's something like 33 degrees.
Like 33.6 or something. I don't know. I know the inversion comes out to be 66.6. I know that. So that's odd.
Right.
That's odd in itself. Yeah, it's like 33.4, something like that. So anyway, but yeah, I mean, there's so much movement going on. So my thing is, if there's a rover on Mars, they would have to be sending these remote signals in order to control it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
With all this motion going on, with the Earth spinning, orbiting around the sun, with Mars being way out there, they got to bounce this radio signal way out there in order to drive this little rover around. You got a remote control car millions of miles away. You're able to do that? Really?
Don't forget through intense radiation like the Van Allen radiation belt, which is essentially a microwave as far as we're concerned.
And I'd like to think that would also have an effect on the frequencies that they're sending out to move this little radio control car so many millions of miles away. But I think that's just ridiculous because the signals, I don't think the signals would make it there. They would have to be bouncing off of some relay satellites or something out there in order to actually get out there. And then they're like sending these pictures back from so far away. I'm like, come on, man. Also, the concept is like my man Jaron from Jaronism. He kind of did an expose. Basically, they're on Devon Island. All right. He's basically
is Devon Island where they believe a bunch of the space stuff to be faked?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like you can look at some of the pictures that NASA puts up on their official site, and then you can check out Devon Island and you can match up some of the terrain, and it matches up perfectly in these two places. So they're like, okay, all they did was took some pictures from Devon Island, and then they adjusted.
Put a red filter.
Yeah, exactly. Put a red filter over it, made it look like, this is this dreary Martian planet, and people believe it. So,
well, you have to understand that the elites are going to leave us here on Earth after they continue to destroy it. They're going to leave us on Earth, and they're going to go live happy lives on this other planet, and it's going to be utopia. Yeah. Because that is what the movies have shown us, so that must be true.
Yeah, it's gotta be. Even now we got Elon Musk and it's Richard Branson and Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, so Bezos, Branson is the one that owns the Virgin Mobile stuff. Yeah. So I saw him, a couple of years ago when I was realizing that they were doing this soft disclosure push. At this point, I had already come to the conclusion that a whole bunch of this stuff is state-sponsored propaganda. But let me tell you why I believed so hard and so deep for so long in my life. When I was like 10 or 11, I was home from school. I can't remember why. I was watching like C-SPAN or some shit like that at middle of the day. And all these older white guys, they were military officials. They were on TV and they were talking about, yes, we've seen aliens. Yes, we've seen crash spaceships. Yes, we've collected them, blah, 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 blah. And then I never found it again, but that sent me down the rabbit hole and then another, like maybe 10 years ago, I found it again online, and I found out that was a National Press Club thing that they were doing. And this was, and I'm sure you're familiar with him at this point, Dr. Stephen Greer. This guy, if you haven't seen, he has a documentary called Unacknowledged on Netflix. And here's what I'll say about that. I believe his uncle was one of the Masons that worked on the lunar space module.
Oh,
yeah. So he has high connections, and he says the moon landing was fake, but that was because of what they saw when they got there, and they were warned off the moon because of our warring nature, and a lot of things that I really believed and wanted to believe. You know, He has the Disclosure Project, and now like he has a cult. He goes out with people, and they do what's called CE5, which is Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, human initiated. By doing group meditation, we can basically make a UFO come.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I'm not sure the long-term agenda of the PSYOP. I'm assuming it's to branch off into a new religion that they control. I'm assuming that that's the long-term goal. I don't know. But I say all that to say, so why don't you believe NASA, D. Marble? Like, what do you have against science, D. Marble?
It's not so much that I have anything against science. I embrace science. I use science on a regular basis. I like every aspect of science that can be proven. I'm opposed to pseudoscience.
What would you do? How would you describe pseudoscience?
It's these theories that are being pushed as reality. You know, stuff that doesn't quite match up, like gravity. For instance.
So you're saying that gravity is pseudoscience?
I am saying that gravity is pseudoscience. And the thing I don't like about NASA, one, I'm
gonna just pull up that definition for the viewers real quick here.
Yeah, well, there's the ideas. See, I'm kind of a humanitarian type person, I suppose you could say. Okay. So I just disagree with the agency because I understand NASA's annual budget. So if you can look that up, pull that up.
We definitely did in our last episode, but I'm definitely gonna pull it up because last year it was 62 M's.
Yeah. So
people don't believe when I tell them. Like I tell them, what's the wildest number you can think of? How much you think they make a day?
Yeah.
Oh, so wait. Okay, so for fiscal year 2021, it's 23 billion. This represents a 3% increase.
Oh wow.
See? Oh, so 3% increase. So if they were, this is fucking ridiculous. Let's see how much their daily budget is.
Okay, 23 billion divided by 365. That is $63 million per day.
$63 million per day.
$63 million a day.
As a person who gives a shit about humanity, I tend to agree with you there because I think that we could house homeless veterans. I think that we could feed starving children. I think that we could give sanitary pads to homeless women who need them. I think that there's a lot we could do with $62 million a day.
Yeah. You know, with a fraction of that money, there's a lot more stuff that we could fix here on Earth instead of trying to spend our time to send people to other places to discover what. You know what I mean? And I was opposed to that when I actually believed in the globe. I was like, wait a minute, they're making how much money for what? What are they doing? Hey, we're gonna send a rover out here. There are starving children here
in every country in the world.
Yeah. So that's one of those things that kind of pisses me off about NASA. You know, so many things can be solved here with that money.
So as I was doing my research, this is probably around the time I was following you from my original page, and I posted, people tend to believe things, just, take it as face value. And somebody that I knew from like high school was commenting, telling me all the reasons that I'm stupid, in my DMs. And I started to almost make content just like showing him all the reasons that he's an idiot. But I didn't want to get to you. I'm sure you've been there. I decided not to do that. But one of the first things that he said to me was, "Are you an idiot? Do you not understand how the cell phone you're on is working?" And then that actually made me, this was the first time I had witnessed cognitive dissonance to such a degree. So for the listeners or people who are unfamiliar, cognitive dissonance is what happens when somebody's belief system is challenged by undeniable, something that they can't deny. Their brain just kind of shuts down in a weird way.
Yeah.
So he's telling me, oh, you don't understand science. You don't understand how your cell phone works. I literally send him a screenshot from Google where you can still see that it's Google and a bunch of results where it says 99% of all internet data usage comes from underground and underwater cables.
Ta-da.
This is why your cell phone drops in between cell towers. This is why your signal drops, because it's not coming from some fucking satellite up there. Yes. It's coming from underwater and underground cables that we've had for damn near 100 years at this point.
Yeah.
What is this, D Marble? Why is it that people still are under the impression that everything has to do with satellites? What are satellites actually doing? What's your thoughts on satellites in general?
My thoughts on satellites in general. Well, we've seen. Well, okay. Well, the traditional idea of satellites. No, I'm not believing that. As far as I can throw freaking Brock Lesnar. Okay, so there's that. Satellites are complete BS, if I understand correctly. At least the way that we're told that they operate from the globe model. And there are videos out there of people, different agencies, NASA, I'm believing, launching satellites from Antarctica using these huge weather balloons.
Hot air balloons, right. They still use air balloons to launch these things.
Yeah, so, I mean, also I believe you can look it up. NASA is the owner of the largest supply of helium out there. You could look up something like that. I believe I've heard that a couple of times. But we've also seen in the last few years where these so-called satellites end up coming down, and they'll crash, and then there's a huge balloon attached to them. So these downs. So it's like not like the satellites are all orbiting around the Earth, just like we're all told, and satellites aren't ever seen in these spacewalks. And there's supposed to be thousands and thousands of satellites up there. I'm like, the International Space Station.
Tens of thousands. Yeah. The International Space Station in and of itself is actually a satellite. So you brought up, because that was one of the things that I always wondered. Okay, we're looking at this so-called footage or whatever. We see these pictures of Earth from space.
Yeah.
And in my head, because I was a space freak at one point, so I'm like, there's supposed to be tens of that. There's supposed to be a shit ton of space debris before we even get to the satellites. There's supposed to be space debris that's just caught outside of our atmosphere that's spinning around us as we're spinning. And Earth should look like a ball with a little bit of blue, but really just a whole bunch of metal spinning around it on the outside. And that is not seen in literally any of the pictures, or if we're actually looking at any of the live footage, some of which you can see water inside spacesuits, some of which you can see mouse going across the screen. But in one time in the International Space Station, live on air, one of the I always want to call them something else, astronauts. One of these astronauts actually started to drown live on air. I don't know if you ever saw that one. Water started leaking. They said his water supply burst or some shit like that.
Yeah. Like he was sweating. He was sweating profusely, and he almost drowned. I was like, this dude almost drowned in his own sweat, bro. Really? And he was sweating so hard it started to fill up his helmet. Is that what happened? You want me to believe that?
People do.
I know. That's the scary part. When have you ever heard of somebody sweating so much that they're gonna freaking drown in their own sweat? That's craziness. But about the International Space Station, one more thing.
Yes, sir.
Dude, this thing's supposed to be the size of a freaking football field.
Yeah.
Now, one, there's no footage of them having constructed this massive International Space Station. Two, look it up. You can put it on the screen one more time. What is the speed of the International Space Station? It's supposed to be over 17,000 miles per hour. Is this thing supposed to be?
Oh, hold on. We're going to have to fact check you now, D Marble.
Check it out. Check it out. I did a couple of videos called Crashing the ISS.
Okay, how fast is the International Space Station? What is it saying? Speed on orbit 4.76 miles per second?
Per second.
Miles per second. I almost didn't peep that. Like they did that intentionally, I feel like, because I really almost missed it.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. They don't put, miles per hour anymore. They say we're supposed to be going 4.76 miles per second. So,
look at the cost on this thing. 150 billion US dollars for us to get what?
Yeah, billion. So we can get those nice warm, feel good pieces when we're like, oh, hey, look, the president's talking to the guys in the International Space Station. Isn't it great, y'all? That's awesome. Here, let me see. What did I say? 4.76? What was
4.76 miles per second.
4.76 times 60. Okay, that's 285 miles
a minute.
In a minute. Times 60 again. 17,136 miles per hour is what
17,000 miles an hour. Shit. So
10 times faster than a speeding bullet.
And these people, because they're inside it and there's no gravity, they don't feel any of this motion going on. Like, because when you look at them, they're just kind of floating about on their wires and not really, speeding about side to side. What would you say your number one proof? Oh, before I even go there.
Okay.
People have an understanding of outer space.
All right.
Would you consider the International Space Station to be in outer space?
Absolutely not.
Why?
Even if I were still believing in the globe, I wouldn't consider it to be in outer space at this point, because actually it was either last year or
it was 2 years ago
when they talked about how the Earth's atmosphere extends beyond the moon.
Yeah.
So
there's
there's
2 years ago.
Yeah, so there's no way in hell that the International Space Station is in outer space, because they're still within the Earth's atmosphere, because the Earth's atmosphere apparently spreads out, beyond 400,000 miles away, because the moon's supposed to be 239,000 miles away.
That's not what Neil deGrasse Tyson told me about the Earth and its atmosphere, and also it being pear-shaped, because I feel like a lot of people like to quote him, but never actually get into the fact that he says the Earth is not a sphere, even though every single picture we've ever seen of Earth, it's a perfect marble.
Correct, sir.
Yep. No pun intended.
It's an oblate spheroid.
Oblate spheroid.
Like it's a little wider at the bottom.
because since its creation, or since it came about, because it's a big banger, it's always been spinning. My first question to that is, Neil deGrasse Tyson, sir, how the fuck would you know and or prove that using the scientific method? How would you do that?
How indeed, sir. How indeed. Dude, I got nothing. I really don't understand how so many people continue to believe this stuff. And you're right. Everything that we see, you can Google pictures of Earth, and we're going to see all these different globes. None of them look exactly the same. The colors are different as far as the water goes, as far as the continents.
I'm going to have to fact check you, D Marble. What do you want me to Google?
You can Google pictures of Earth, and you're just going to pull up a bunch of pictures of the globe, and they're just not going to, none of them are going to look the same. And then of course there was the NASA engineer. What
was his name? I know his name too.
Rob Simmons.
Rob Simmons, the CGI artist.
Yep.
So he's basically just a Photoshop pro.
Yeah.
An arts major.
Yeah, he sat there in the interview and admitted that it's photoshopped and said it has to be. I'm like, about my next question would have been like, but Rob, why does it have to be, guy? What do you mean? What do you mean it has to be? Like, okay, so look, check it. These first two pictures. Now, if you're not watching the podcast, I encourage you to watch the podcast, because we got some stuff on the screen right here. Just these first two pictures are right here. One showing that North America is taking up like a quarter of the picture of the Earth, and then the other one is so much smaller.
This one is showing it gigantic,
It's
right?
huge. Yeah.
This is from National Geographic, NASA's Blue. So anybody listening, you can look it up yourself. Just on Google, pictures of Earth. We're talking about the first two images. The first one is from National Geographic. The second one is from NPR. The third one is from History.com.
Mm-hmm.
And in each one, the first two, the continent sizes and colors differ almost greatly, because this one looks way more brown. This one looks way more green. These clouds, you can't see anything but clouds. And but which is weird, because this picture seems to be a lot further away than this picture. But this picture, you can't see any continents at all, not even the tail end of one. That doesn't make any sense. And then this is the Wikipedia picture of Earth. So what you want us to believe right now, D Marble, is that none of these pictures are real, is what you are trying to convince us of.
I'm not trying to convince you anything. I'm just saying this is okay. So
according to NASA,
I'm saying according to NASA, the pictures of Earth that we've been given, it just doesn't seem to match up. And this is where the standard globe head would say, "Oh, you just don't understand photography." No, I think I understand very well. If I look at a basketball and I draw some shapes on a damn basketball, and then I turn that bitch, it's going to look pretty much the same. You know, if I'm taking a picture from the same distance, if I draw, North America on that ball, and then I take a picture from 5 feet away, I'm going to be able to see it looks the same. It's going to look the same size every time. It's not going to take up a huge amount of the freaking basketball. You know what I'm saying? Right. So yeah, I mean, this is basic stuff, but again, cognitive dissonance is where people would fall apart with this, because it's going to shatter their paradigm about where they live at. And a lot of people aren't ready for that one, because once you figure out that they would lie to you about the very place that you're going to spend your entire existence, then you have to ask the next question, well, what else would they lie to me about?
Right.
And the answer, quite simply, everyone, is everything. They would lie to you about everything.
Literally everything you could possibly, stuff that they didn't even have to lie about.
Yeah.
And essentially what you're responding to is this meme right here.
Yep.
Come on, NASA, make up your mind. What does Earth really look like? And it's pictures ranging from 1972. It's 8 pictures ranging from 1972 to 2015. And in the bottom, it says, all images are official NASA pictures of Earth as released through the mainstream media outlets and major news agencies of the world. Question: how big is America? What color are the oceans and the land? Why is there never any real video of Earth spinning? Yep. Only stills. Why are the images so varied? And do you really believe this is where you live? Do you actually trust NASA?
No, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying any of that.
Unfortunately, I can't trust and or believe that. I think someone asked the question. This is a Cheryl Turner, so I'm going to give you this question. Have you noticed? I have, since 2019, the portal in the daytime skies that look like the sun. I noticed first in Arizona. I currently live in Portland, Oregon. I see it in the sky here since 2020. Now, I personally have not seen this. I've had 2 different people that I know personally and trust their word that they have seen them. Have you seen them, D Marble?
Portals? No, I haven't seen any portals in the sky. Sorry, Cheryl.
All right, we just haven't. I haven't seen them, but 2 people who they have zero reason to lie to me. Yeah. I believe that they believe that they saw what they saw.
Yeah.
Now, until I see it, until I see the edge, I just can't jump off a cliff until it's undeniable to me. So now, D Marble, I know, got to be a busy man. I want to get through the last bit of our topics here in this. I think we got I don't know, half an hour or so left. I don't know how much time you have.
I'm chilling.
Okay, cool.
I'm chilling. Let's run it.
Perfect. So, D Marble, before we get back to all of NASA's lies and foolery, one topic that I wanted to talk to you about: living off the grid, D Marble. So you used to use the hashtag a lot. I think it was van life.
Yeah.
Okay, so for a while now, and I'm sure that this did not help your case when people were making debunker videos about you. I am certain that they referenced you living in a van multiple times.
Yeah.
So D Marble, you lived in a van, sir.
I lived out of my van
You
while I
lived
had
out.
I lived out of my van while I had a full-time job. You see, being single, after things were over with my ex-girlfriend, I packed up my car, and I packed up all my stuff after we broke up. I got a storage unit, and I was living in my car for a couple of days. I went and got on Craigslist, and I had an idea about what I wanted. We had also gotten into looking at off-grid living. We looked into tiny homes. We looked into people, refurbishing buses, and in van life.
You saw the I've been looking into ways to do this sustainably in other places. You've seen the where they turn like shipping containers into
Yeah.
like a home. Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
this is one of the options that you might have thought about.
Yeah, we looked at a lot of this stuff because we're like, okay, we've been looking at all this stuff where it's proven how screwed up the world is. We need to get off grid some way or another. We need to get away from this society and detach. And since we broke up, I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm on my own now. Well, I don't want to go get another apartment because it's just going to be me. I'm kind of a low maintenance dude anyway, so I'm like, all right. So basically, instead of an apartment, let's think about what you actually need out of getting an apartment or a house. What you would need? You need a shower.
You need a shower.
You need somewhere to prepare your food.
You need somewhere to prepare your food, yeah.
And you need somewhere to sleep, and you need somewhere to have your mail sent to.
And the bathroom.
And a bathroom, yeah.
And a bathroom.
So ultimately, I sat down and I'm like, okay, so if I had a van, I could have a little kitchenette in there. I got a solar panel on top of there, so I can keep all my devices charged. I got.
So what you got? Like a little hot grill or a little like a electric grill skillet?
Yeah, I got a two burner stove in there if I want to cook something. I got a little propane.
Okay.
That I connect to that. Like a little camping grill.
Right. So,
okay. Yeah, easy stuff. And then, I got the bench seats in the back, so that's my bed. I got my sleeping bag in there. When it gets cold, I got a hot water bottle. You heat up the water, you put it in the bottom of the sleeping bag, keep your feet warm, and your body's going to be warm. You're good. I figured that out.
Yeah. You lose the bulk of your body heat through your feet and head, right?
Yeah. So, that came in handy in the wintertime. Now, the other things to take care of the shower, the bathroom, the mailing, get yourself a P.O. box. Okay. To have a P.O. box at the post office is like, $65, $75 for 6 months or so.
Right? Oh, wow. I thought you were going to say a month.
No. So it's $65 a month. You got your P.O. box, so you can
for 6 months.
Yeah. So you can have your mail shipped there. You can have your mail go there. You can order stuff off of whatever site and have it delivered to the post office. Go pick up your stuff. You can have an app on your phone saying, okay, this is a notified tracking. It's going to let you know what's in your box. So you can go check it and say, oh, okay, I need to go pick up my stuff. So you got that. And then a gym membership to like Planet Fitness. One of these 24-hour type gyms. It could be LA Fitness. It could be,
Here we got Export. There's a bunch of them. Yeah.
24-hour fitness or whatever it is. If you got this place that you can go get a workout in, you can go shower, you can use the bathroom there, and you it's all good, So
sometimes you would pull up to the gym just to use the bathroom.
Yeah. Why not?
I worked in a gym for years. I would not have even thought anything weird of it. I would have been like, oh, he must have forgot something in his locker or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, if that, or if it's that serious, well, dude. Okay, full disclosure. I mean, I'm a dude. I'm living in here. I'm a guy.
Piss in a bottle.
Yeah, I got a jug. I can just pull off somewhere, dump the thing out, put it.
One of the guys has a question for you. He said, "How big of a solar panel or panels would harness enough energy to maintain all electricity needs?"
Oh man. Well, it's not even so much about the size of the solar panel. I believe it's about your storage capacity.
The bank.
Yeah, I got two marine batteries in the back of the van connected to the solar panel. I got the solar panel up top. I got the charge controller routing power back down, and then I got my battery bank. So that maintains for a while. And then, the sun's always shining for the most part, or it'll shine every few days and it'll just charge it back up and I'm good.
So how bad are cloudy days for that type of living? Like,
Not bad at all.
because of the bank, or it still is actually feeding?
For the bank. I mean, even if there's like a little sun break, breaking the clouds, I still get a little bit of light. It'll still charge up, and I'm good most days. Yeah.
So what'd you do about like TV? You had to be super bored.
I got a little TV in my van. Actually, there's a little TV. It's got a DVD player hooked up to it, so I'm in the back watching John Wick.
Okay.
I'm just chilling. Like I have a friend of mine. He works at works for Xfinity.
Okay.
So he hooked me up with a password, basically, where I can get on Xfinity Wi-Fi anywhere I go, as long as Xfinity Wi-Fi is around. And I got that on my laptop. I got that on my phone, on my tablet, so I can get on the internet pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, so essentially all you got to do is hook an HDMI up to your TV and you're good to go.
Yeah, pretty much.
So where do you park? Because I would imagine that seeing, after a certain amount of time of the van being in one place, whatever cop is on that beat is eventually going to come and knock on that window.
Aha. See, that's the cool part. The cool part about being me is that, I got my flat earth stuff on the side of the van. So on the side of my van, it's written, Earth is, let me see, the Earth's surface is 71% water. Bodies of water do not curve, therefore the Earth is flat. And then it says research flat Earth, YouTube, D Marble, FE offensive, all types of stuff on like both sides of the van. Right. So I've been driving around this neighborhood for years. So people recognize me.
They know exactly who it is, what time it is.
Yeah, they know who I am. They know who I am. The cops know who I am. So I'll just pull up in the parking lot, and then the cops will just pull up. They're like, man, that's just D. They don't care. They know it's me, so they don't mess with me. And then there was a lady at a hardware store, that will remain nameless. Okay. So I was talking to her. She was doing the same thing, kind of living out of a van. And she told me, she was like, yeah, you can just park out there on the outskirts of the parking lot. Nobody's going to say anything. I'm like, word? All right, cool. So that's my spot. Like, I'm out into the side of the parking lot. And I'm not really taking up a lot of space anyway, because I'm usually up to go work out at like 5 a.m. So right. I'm out of the parking lot early in the morning.
Before the rush hour periods.
Yeah. So I'm not taking up any space. I'm way out on the back. Nobody's even parking around there. I'm up early in the morning. I'm gone, and then I'll come back in the evening around like 9:30, 10. So everybody's already gone home from work. Most people, the store's all cleared out. So they're not really worried about me being out there parked, because all I'm going to do is just park, pull those shades up, get in the back, go to sleep.
It sounds like the magic there is making yourself not a hindrance.
Yeah.
As long as you do that, most people don't really give a shit what you're doing.
For the most part, yeah. Just kind of going with the flow around this whole thing. And then, I don't really mind the folks who were clowning me about doing the whole van life thing, because I'm like,
you're probably saving a ton of money.
Oh, man, I saved all kinds of money. Dude, I saved all kinds. Because, look, I'm not paying rent. Right. I'm not paying renter's insurance, utilities, water, sewer, lights, gas. I ain't got to deal with none of that shit.
That alone, almost anywhere you live in the U.S., you're saving yourself no less than, let's just call it, I don't know, $1,000 a month. Let's call it that. So that's $12,000 a year minimum.
Yeah. So they'll be sitting there trying to clown me about, oh, you're in a van down by the river. Like, I haven't heard that 1,000 times. I'm like, okay, yeah. Go say hi to your landlord for me.
And at this point, I'm kind of in the mindset that, renting is just a forever trap. I'm actually closing on a property. My wife wanted to buy a house in the burbs, and I'm telling her, like, look, my end goal is to not work for people the rest of my life. So we're going to get us a multifamily. And then after a certain period of time, we'll go get that house in the suburbs, but our properties will pay for that house.
Oh, man. Yeah, absolutely. Look, so side note, if you're looking at some investment opportunities, we need to talk after the show.
Most definitely. I intend to stay in touch. So One Light also has another question for you. So Any idea on how one would go about claiming unoccupied land to be really off grid, no taxes, citizenship? So you can actually go to unincorporated areas in America. I think you still would have to make a purchase, but the land in and of itself is unincorporated. I think here in Chicago, one of the suburbs, like near Naperville, is actually unincorporated. But do you have any response to that question? Because I'm sure it was a little bit more for you. Any idea on how you would go about claiming unoccupied land, or what you know about unincorporated territories?
Nah, I just know that there's a lot of information on YouTube about that. I've watched some of those videos when we got into the off-grid living about how there's free land out there. Essentially, you just gotta know where to look and go through the process of getting it. But it's out there.
Right.
What I'm doing now, actually, I'm working on closing a home myself.
You upgraded from van life, though, right?
Yeah. I'm currently, like right now, I'm in my fifth wheel. I got a fifth wheel trailer. It's like a 36-footer.
I'm gonna have to look it up. Is it like I just imagined it was like the thing from Meet the Fockers, where he had that? Yeah, it's like that, right?
Like a big old camping trailer. You know what I mean? Yeah, like I got a whole kitchen set up right here. And
so that thing you can't drive that thing. It just attaches to your van.
Yeah, well, no, it doesn't attach to the van. What I'm gonna have to do is, in order to get it moved, I'm gonna have to have some guys get a truck, put that special hitch on the back, because this is a big freaking trailer.
Okay.
Put that special hitch on the back and then drive it down to my property, because I'm looking to close on a house next month, actually. Okay. And in a strange twist of events, the house that I'm looking to buy is right across the street from my pops. Isn't that dope? Isn't that dope?
That is what's up.
And on 6.5 acres.
Oh, wow. So I would imagine that these last few years of off-grid living have kind of put you, because you've maintained your jobs the entire time?
Yes, sir.
So you've probably been able to save, quite a good amount of cash down. So your payments are probably you're going to be living well below your means, wherein the average American is probably living above their means to some degree.
Yeah.
I think that if I was single, I could make it work, because I'm low maintenance also.
Yeah.
But me being with my wife, and now we have a kid.
Yep.
It wouldn't work because of that. But 30 years from now, she decides to leave me, my kid's an adult, I might have to go back and watch those van life videos.
Man, that needs to be the first move. I'm trying to tell you. Anybody that isn't like, or maybe you could convince her. I don't know. Just be like, babe, look, hear me out. Economically, we could kill it for a little while if we just do this. Well, what about the kid? Well, I mean, look, if we gut out this van, or not a van, like a bus. You get like a school bus. I've seen people do that, like, are working in corporate America. They'll get a bus and then they'll just gut the thing, build it back up to be like a class A RV type status, and then sell off their house, sell their stuff, and then move into that bus, and then they just operate that way. And the same thing can happen even if you do like I did, just kind of stay local. Mm-hmm. Like my job is in a fixed position, and I got my van. I'm able to like get off work, and then I'm in my van, and I'm home already. So as soon as I clock out, I'm like, all right, so now what? Well, I get to do whatever I want.
Right. And I think that, like, for example, when COVID happened, I'll bet living off grid seemed way more appealing to people. Some of those videos probably went up. Like right around that time, people looking into losing their homes and all this stuff because, governments like to play games with people's well-being. And like the simple fact that you can't, they should have been able to stop the banks from foreclosing on the people who own the properties during that period of time. And the simple fact that they didn't do that says to me that obviously they were trying to push homelessness, and you kind of were a little bit ahead of I actually hadn't watched one of your videos in a long time and thought about you initially when I started hearing about people losing these homes. But bet he seems a lot less crazy now.
Yeah, I'm saying, I was seeing all that. I was like, damn, that's messed up.
So
that's crazy, folks.
as we get back into a couple of things, and I know that I told you I'm going to be talking with Dave Murphy soon.
Yeah,
And you and Dave Murphy are familiar with each other, correct?
yeah. Dave's the man, and that's how I address him whenever I see him online or so. I'm like, you the man, Dave. I'm saying that dude is a wealth of knowledge, man. Great,
Yeah,
great
he
guy.
really is.
Yeah.
And I have found in me researching Flat Earth, one, just a ton of people who are very knowledgeable, well-spoken, not lunatics,
Yeah.
like they would have you believe.
Right.
That also, Dave, for example, was an atheist that came, Flat Earth brought him to the Bible. So the next topic that I have for you is the Bible is a flat earth book. And you said your dad was a pastor. So even, whether or not you're religious, I don't know. But what I do know is there has to be some level of respect for the books themselves. So I do see there's a few people in watching right now. If you guys could do us a favor, like or dislike, I really don't care which one you guys do. Just help us with those algorithms by the engagement. Like, dislike, comment, I don't care. Just help us with that engagement, please and thank you. So the Bible is a flat earth book. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Well, I mean, it's out there that there's around 200 scriptures that allude to Earth being a stationary plane. It's like just different things. Let me see. There was a battle, I believe. What was that? Daniel commanded the sun to stay still, as something like that.
That sounds familiar. I'm still trying to go back through. One of my Hebrew Israelites friends was telling me that I need to go back and I gotta pull it up. But like even before the Bible, like the Book of Remembrance is what it was referred to at one point, and then there's like a book that companions that book to understand what a lot of the words meant at the time that they were using them. I appreciate you guys' comments and that I asked about, and someone said that we should read the book Worlds Beyond the Poles by Gaining. Okay, definitely gonna have to check that out. Appreciate you, more alignment and spirit. Appreciate you. Cheryl Turner says she believes we're in a dome, so she follows the biblical description of the Earth. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
The dome that she's referring to is that's called the firmament. That's the word, the official word for it. It's like a glass dome that we're supposed to be living in. That's separating the waters above from the waters
below.
Yeah.
Does that mean does that mean that we could be like fish? We could be in some type of water thing that we don't even know that we're in.
You know what? That actually makes sense. That actually makes sense to me, because based on the Hebrew description of Earth, that is, the geostationary Earth, the sun and the moon inside the dome, making their clockwise circuit, the waters above and all that. You look up at the sky, and on a day like today, where it's like this beautiful blue sky, it looks right about the same tone as the water. When you look out at the ocean, you see, like all this water. Like water, innately, if you have enough water accumulated, it kind of turns blue. The sky is the exact same color. So I mean, that just makes sense.
So does the water turn blue, or are they feeding off one another?
I'm thinking that it's the water above that we're seeing, and just the same. It's not like the sky actually meets the ocean at any point, but it's all about our visual perception. So it makes sense to me that this Hebrew conception of the universe is accurate, because
I got it pulled up on screen for the viewers to see.
Yeah, and the idea about that actually leads me back to my thought process about another observation that I did. I would conclude that this is more accurate because that North Star, I would believe that I would venture to say that the North Star is like God's throne. You know what I'm saying? That would seem like the perfect vantage point to me.
For people unfamiliar, now the majority of the stars are moving around in a fixed location, right? Yeah. The North Star is always stationary. no matter how much time goes on, which is kind of one of the many reasons that the heliocentric model doesn't make sense. Because if we're tilting on an axis and spinning at, however many thousand miles an hour and, circling the sun, we should at least monthly be seeing completely different constellations, shouldn't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've been seeing the North Star forever.
Yeah, well, like the whole time. It doesn't make any sense. And then, going back to the whole flat Earth thing, if the Earth is supposed to be moving through space and the North Star is always fixed, then that means that we're moving millions of miles per hour, all this time heading toward the North Star. You know what I mean? Like that. That's exactly where we're going, because we see all the stars making these perfect concentric circles around the North Star. And so that means that the Earth is spinning towards the North Star. And we've been heading there for thousands of years. Why have we never bumped into that thing? Why does it always appear to be the same size? Why does that thing never move? But there's other, there's that aspect of it.
You bring up some good questions. So Cheryl said, I'm a photographer that enjoys taking non-professional pictures of nature, the sun, moon, etc. At times when I take pics of the sky, it seems like the sky dips down in areas like you can touch it. I don't know if that's perspective. I think I would have to see what you're talking about, Cheryl. I don't know if you can imagine that, D Marble. But like Moorish alignment and spirit says, Earth has not moved a lick in forever. And that's really something that we really should think about. Another thing, as I was getting into, they don't just lie to us about space. They lie to us about everything, including history. And regardless of what people want to believe, all of the darker skinned people, highly melanated individuals like us that are on this continent, North and South America, did not all come from Africa, or potentially they did thousands of years prior to Christopher Columbus or the transatlantic slave trade. Either way, as I'm doing this type of research, I ended up finding out lots of things like, there's pyramids in Bosnia or Serbia where Nikola Tesla's from. And then there's the largest pyramids in the earth are right here in South America. And then you end up finding out that apparently all of the pyramids on Earth are actually aligned with the stars. Yep. Now, if the pyramids themselves are tens of thousands of years old and we're doing all this spinning and weebling and wobbling, how could they still actually be aligned all these years later?
That's an excellent question. And I believe that, that's all based on, ancient architecture. That they knew that we were on a stationary Earth. They knew that these stars were going to line up perfectly with the pyramids. And so that's exactly how they built it back in the day. And, rather than giving credit to those who were living in that region,
having melanated individuals.
Having that such insight and such a, profound understanding of the cosmology, they attribute that to aliens. Aliens have it. Nah.
And I feel like that's just somebody specifically said, Bergman Rockstar Painter said, "What up, B?"
Hi, what's up, Sabian? How you doing, man?
And the North Star is great at dodging, so it moves quickly when Earth approaches.
Right. It just keeps moving further away. Like as far as we're moving towards the North Star is just like, nope. It just keeps going too. So
since Cheryl in the comments did bring up, she has a question specifically, but we're going to branch out from your question, Cheryl. But we're going to answer this. I feel comfortable on this platform saying, has anyone else seen the crafts that look like capsules? I'm pretty sure she's talking about the little Tic Tac crafts. Yeah. I've seen quite a few videos of that. I've not. Yeah. Okay, so you've seen videos also. Now, here's what I will say about that, and then I do want to get your opinion on UFOs in general.
Okay.
I personally believe, like I said, I've been into, the secret space program, all that stuff for a super long time, right?
Right.
I believe that the technology in and of itself, the metals put together, moving at rates that we don't understand, I believe that the technology exists. I don't believe it's interstellar. I don't think any of that shit's getting out the firmament, which is referred to in the Bible, the firmament. I believe that that's the same thing we understand to be the Van Allen radiation belt in science.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're of the same thought process, especially when you end up finding out things about like Operation Fishbowl and Operation High Jump and these declassified programs where they're shooting nuclear missiles up at something that aren't penetrating something. Right. I don't know. People can kind of look into that stuff themselves. Yep. What are your thoughts on UFOs and these capsule type crafts and these crafts that everybody's seeing?
I'm thinking that goes back to the probability of lost technology, maybe stolen technology, maybe some stuff that's just underground that they're testing on. Because you got to understand, the military, what they roll out for the general population, that's old news.
30 years behind, I hear.
Yeah, they got technology that far surpasses what we are privy to understand out here in modern society. So that could just be them messing with us. It could be humans piloting these so-called UFOs. But yeah, they are unidentified because we don't know what the heck they are. But that's what I think that might be. There's other stuff, other theories out there, like when Admiral Byrd said, in his diary, when he supposedly went to the North Pole and he was caught in this tractor beam and he was brought into this, underground civilization where they had UFOs and all this upscale technology and all that. It could be that, the idea of hollow Earth.
I came across that. I listened to and read some stuff about that.
Yeah, there was hollow Earth. There was, let me see, what was the guy's name? Olaf Janssen.
I'm familiar with the name. Yeah, I don't know what he did. I'm familiar with the name though.
It's like he, I believe it was either him or his son, or he was dictating his adventures into the hollow Earth and went into all that good stuff. And he was talking about how the technology was just off the hook. It was just unbelievable. So the UFOs, it could be any number of things. It could be like a secret space program that they're calling it. It could be extraterrestrials. People have that idea, like it's not just a flat Earth. There's other land beyond the poles outside of that, and this is just one of the circles here, and there are outer
have you ever so
that.
You have seen the map then? So that actually doesn't seem all that improbable to me, based on, like, even if you follow the flat Earth line of thought, or I don't know, string theory or something, but so we're in one capsule, right? Or we're in one disc or whatever, but outside of that disc there's a wider disc and we're the center of their disc, but in that wider disc there's also some big continents, and if you need to get from one side to the other, why are you going to go all the way around? That's the long way. Maybe the technology that we see and perceive to be alien, maybe it is just banned in our section of this realm.
Like the controllers, they keep our sector ignorant of these things. So if it's like that, if there's other lands out there and there's this technology that can move from one place to the other. Also, you got to recall, Admiral Byrd, he talked about there was another expedition, a high grade military expedition.
Is that the one where they got fucked up when they got down there?
Yeah, when the Nazis, it's like the Nazis fled down to Antarctica because they knew that there was more land down there. Right. And Admiral Byrd goes down there with a whole military fleet, and they just got blasted. All these high speed. Like
barely anybody returned, right?
Yeah, and Admiral Byrd came back shook. He was saying stuff like, "Look, our issue is going to be dealing with an enemy that can move from one pole to the other within minutes." And I'm like, that's kind of crazy. Now, if there's craft that can actually move that fast, why wouldn't there? If there is other land on the other side of the ice wall way out there, then you could just fly the thing from, we're in our circle, and then just zip out to another one of these places. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know what the name of the map is. I would like to pull it up.
It's like, I know it's the one where it's like there's a lot of blue. There's a lot of blue out there.
I found it in different interviews that I've done. I don't know where it is. If I find it again at any point, I'll definitely pull it up.
Yeah.
So somebody's talking about Hollow Earth being real. More Shalim, Hollow Earth is real. Check out how we appear to each other to get to the moon or other planes, catch the underground maglev train. Now, okay, so now that I believe to be he's talking about underground maglev trains. And again, when we talk about they show us truth in film, if you actually think about the last fighting scene of the movie Black Panther, those trains that are carrying all that vibranium are just magnetic levitation. That's all it is. They tell you about it in movies so that when you actually see it, you don't fucking freak out. We can understand the concepts.
And in order to see those trains, first they had to They had to fall for like a mile. They were way deep underground, and then you see all those trains zipping around. You're like, wait a minute.
Right.
So, they put it out there in the movies just so, we start talking about that. And we're like, no, there are maglev trains underground, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, you're just talking about the end of Black Panther.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So you understand the concept of DUMBs, right? Deep underground military bases, right? Yes. Wouldn't it be foolish of a military that has any military that has the amount of money that our military has to not have deep underground military bases?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because that would be like the ultimate fallout shelter. If stuff got crazy on the surface to where it was just unable to, if you were like unable to continue living life normally, whether it was a nuclear fallout, zombie apocalypse, which may be coming up, whatever may be going on, if the place just catches on fire some way or another. Yeah, if you could flee to somewhere that's like a couple of miles underground, you already got all your food laid out. You got enough shelter. You got all your resources. You got a water purification system. You got your maglev trains that can move you from one underground city to another underground city. Yeah, it makes sense.
And it's going to be super hard to be penetrated unless something is coming from outside your tunnel through the ground using some type of crazy technology.
Yeah.
So there are a few other questions. I like to make our shows when people are interacting. I like to make them as interactive as possible. So Cheryl says there are other beings in other dimensions. We are not the only beings that exist. I would tend to agree with that. The only difference is when we're talking interplanetary versus interdimensional. Those are two completely different conversations. If any of you watch Rick and Morty, I'm actually wearing a Rick and Morty Thanos shirt. So that he does have a portal behind him. Now, I don't know exactly what portals are. I would imagine if some scientist somewhere on some government payroll figured out how to move us from one place to another place in an extremely fast time period, I don't think that they would tell us. I don't think we're pretty high on that list for them to give a shit about what we want to do or even making things fun for us. That destroys too many industries that they make billions off of.
Yeah, no.
Another question for you, D Marble. Any theories on what stars are? Because according to Flat Earth theory, are they inside or outside our firmament?
Inside the firmament would be my answer, that they're inside the firmament. Stars are from what's called sonoluminescence, and this is basically that's able to be created by running certain frequencies through a medium like some sort of liquid substance like water. So and there's a popular video out there. I've used it in a couple of videos. A lot of other flat earthers, content creators have used that whole star in a jar thing where there's this it's a spherical vial, it's full of liquid, and then they're pumping these different frequencies into the water, and then it's like the molecules are slamming against each other so quickly that it gives the appearance of a star inside this glass sphere.
Yeah, I'm gonna get that. I was pulling it up on the back end for you. Sonoluminescence.
There it is.
Right. So light, and I think that I've seen people break it down where like when bubbles burst in water, if enough of it is happening, you'll see what your mind interprets as light.
Yeah.
And this is essentially what sonoluminescence is. And you're saying that is essentially what you believe the stars to be.
Yeah. I can rock with that.
Okay. Okay. So
because the whole creation story is, God spoke everything into existence, basically. If everything's vibration and that's how things are created, then it makes sense that you go back to the Genesis account of the creation of Earth. water being one of those main components, yeah, it makes sense that, certain vibrations are going to be out there and cause that particular phenomenon that we just saw there. So yeah, I go with that.
So somebody did say that China is deploying a maglev that will travel above ground at 700 miles per hour. I'm very intrigued to find out more about this. I appreciate you sharing that with us. I'm gonna look into this after this podcast. I got another 25 minutes or so, and then I got a hard stop. But again, D Marble, I'm really glad that you did the podcast with us. I'm really glad that you built with us. I got a couple more topics that we're going to hit on. I appreciate you building with us. I know that as long as you're up for it, this will not be our last time doing content.
All right, cool.
And definitely going to send you. I saw that you instant messaged me the P.O. box, so I'm definitely going to make sure you get a package. And if you're ever in Chicago, I'm going to send you along a VIP card so you can just stop through. We have a recording studio downstairs from here, so anything you need from a media standpoint when you're in the tri-state area, make sure you come through here. We got you.
Cool. Because I'm about to retire soon, so I'm going to have a little bit more time on my hands.
Are you about to retire soon?
Oh, yeah.
You're not even 40 yet? You talking about retiring soon?
I'm going to tell you all about it offline, man.
Oh, most definitely. I definitely need to learn about this.
Yes, sir.
So there's certain words in what you're saying, Cheryl Turner, that I don't want to say because we're already threading a line of being flagged nonstop, but I will put it on screen because that is Cheryl Turner taking her point. So we're going to continue on, Cheryl. Not that we are not aware or in agreement or disagreement with you. It is just that they have gotten better with their at one point, AI couldn't read memes. Yeah. That is no longer the case. AI can now read the memes. If you guys haven't noticed, you'll throw up a meme and they'll put it, depending on what the meme is about. If it's about one of their taboo topics, they'll put their little disclaimer under the meme, even though nothing in your caption says anything about it.
All right, so check this out. Pro tip: if you're out here posting memes, they haven't figured out quite yet how to have the bots read memes if you flip the image and then rotate it. Like you can put up a news article and then you can flip it.
So just invert it so it's backwards?
Yeah, you can invert it so it's backwards and then you
rotate it so that you can read it properly?
Yeah.
I know exactly how to do that. I got an app on my phone for that. Because that's also one of the reasons they got rid of my original Instagram.
Yeah,
like I was killing them with the memes.
See that's another thing that happened to me. Like I got my memes and I'll put those things up, and I'm just like, man, they will flag you for putting up information that goes against propaganda. But if you can get around the bots by flipping that picture and putting it up,
right,
you'll be all right.
Definitely go for that. Okay.
For now, they haven't figured out how to read them upside down and backwards just yet. So, go with that.
So there's a few topics that I still wanted to touch on. Now, we talked at the beginning of the podcast a little bit about some of your flat Earth experiments that you did right here on a couple of flights that you went on. And again, if anybody wants to see those in full with Daryl's explanation, then you can go to the link in the bio. There's a direct link to his channel. I'll add the link to his specific playlist in the bio as well.
Yep.
Now, you have not only done stateside flat Earth experiments, you have involved people on 2 different continents at the same time while doing flat Earth experiments, correct?
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about which video to go to? I'm gonna go back, share my screen to your playlist here. Tell me which video I need to be clicking on.
All right.
I remember seeing it.
Okay, so in the playlist, it's the one where if you go down, Flat Earth Globe Debunked in under 6 minutes. It's the one right up top. You just passed it.
Oh, I passed it. Google Globe. Okay, boom.
There it is, right there. So in this particular observation, what I did, I got this idea, and I got this idea from Twitter. I put up a picture of let me see, the sun in the sky. Mm-hmm. And this guy, well, actually, no, I went on Twitter. There was a flat earther. He put up a picture. He was in Australia, and he took a picture of the sunrise. He's like, okay, so it's sunrise in Australia right now, and he's like got a picture of the sun. He put that up, And I'm like, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and the sun's right above my head. I was like, wait a minute, it's sunrise in Australia right now. The sun's right
Right.
above my head. That's crazy. And then I knew someone in the UK. So I was like, wait a minute, in the UK it's like 9 o'clock at night.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nighttime in the UK. It's high noon here where I'm at, and then in Australia it's like the sun's coming up. So I was like, I got in contact with a couple of my guys. This is my guy Matt. And Matt, he's out in the UK. He's out in Bradford, West Yorkshire, England.
Okay.
And so, he was my guy in the UK. It's 1:03 in the afternoon in Tacoma. I'm showing you, on this video call.
It's 9:03 p.m. over there. And for the listeners who can't see, it looks like the sun is still out.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing is, it's like I have him go to a point to where you can see the sun's going down. The sun's going down.
See that.
So the sun's going like really low on the horizon where he's at. And then, he gets up there, he's going to just show where he's at. And then, the sun's still above my head where, so we're like, okay, so it's sundown over there, but it's high noon where I'm at. Sun's high in the sky where I'm at.
The sun's at its highest point that it's going to be for the day for the most part.
Yeah. But at the exact same time, he's pointing off in the distance where the sun is, going down. I'm like, okay, so that's cool. So then the next thing I do, I get off the call with him. I'm like, hey, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for participating in this thing. And then I call my guy Luke, and Luke is in Australia, and it's like 6 a.m. in Australia. So the sun's coming up at that point, and I call him like 3 minutes later right after I get off the call with Matt. And here, can you pull it forward a little bit?
Yeah, I'll pull the video forward to the other guy, right?
Yeah.
I saw a comment that I'm gonna bring up afterward.
Okay.
After we. So this is the Australia guy, right?
Yeah. That's my guy Luke in Australia. So it's still like early morning there. He's got the moon in the background.
So his sun's on the way up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we could basically see the sun in all 3 different locations in different positions. So it's low on the horizon in the UK.
Right.
It's high in the sky in Tacoma where I'm at, and then the sun's coming up in Australia. Right. You know what I mean? So it's like us being able to see the sun or light from the sun. People would say at the same time like that. That's ridiculous. Right. How does that make sense on a ball? Because the sun's supposed to be 93 million miles away.
Right.
The sun will be covered by the curvature on one of those.
Right. It should be pitch black in at least one of those places.
Yeah.
Huh. And so at this point, you're already far past questioning whether or not this thing is a globe. Like at this point, I'm no longer in the questioning phase of whether or not it's a globe.
Yeah.
For me, it is, okay, I want to know what exactly we're on, because maybe it's the flat earth model that you believe, or maybe it's the one where there's more realms outside of that.
Right.
Or maybe it is both flat and hollow, or maybe it is string theory, where for every single decision that we've ever made, for anybody who's listening who may not understand string theory, the best way to think about it is if you ever watched the Flash show, cartoon, anything like that, for every decision you've ever made, there's another universe where you made the opposite decision and things spiraled from there.
I like to consider that possibility, actually. I think about that type of stuff all the time.
Okay, me too.
Yeah.
So, and I just think that, as far as visuals go, that's the best way to describe it. I see here in the video now, you have a globe and you're showing with a flashlight for people who still might not get it. Yeah. You're showing exactly how the sun should spotlight one area while another area should be completely dark on the earth if we live on a globe.
Yeah.
So right here, it looks like it's in between South America and Africa, I think, on the way that you did it. Yeah. But Northern America is completely in the dark with the sun right there, which is, kind of the opposite of what we just saw you do with 2 other people on this very same video.
Here's the thing, but, they say that they debunked me because I didn't factor in the tilt of the earth. You know,
Oh, yep. You always forget about the axis.
because the Earth is supposed to be tilted on its axis, and the ball is supposed to be at this certain degree or whatever. And I forgot to factor that in. So according to the globe model, I just proved the globe because I'm like, dude, shut up. Dude, just stop it, because it doesn't make any sense. But okay. I had people, fighting this battle on my behalf. I was just like, dude, I'm just putting it out there. It just doesn't make any damn sense,
I have there's a comment in here. There's a few comments that have gone off since we've been talking about this last one, but there's one in specific just to catch the listeners up. So one of the guys from One Light Records, shout out to the homies Picasso, dope ass producer. He was talking about how he, me, and like 3 or 4 other people that we both know all got our either Facebooks or Instagrams taken down same day, like literally right after elections, and we exposed a whole. I didn't know who to trust in this whole thing. I just knew with Trump, I don't care whether or not you say mean shit. I don't care if you're a racist, because I think they're all racist. I care way more about whether or not you're putting me and my needs first.
Yeah.
Before everybody else. So whatever. But so we definitely got censored, but he said something really important. Propaganda and censorship wouldn't be necessary if there was nothing that we could do about it, which means there's something that we can do about it. And I definitely wanted that up on screen. I'm sure you can appreciate that. Any thoughts on that, D Marble?
I do. I appreciate that. One Light Records, I appreciate the optimistic approach there, because you don't need to censor irrelevant voices. You gotta take people down if they, if nobody's paying attention to them, if they got no power. That's when you gotta, when you don't have to do that. But when you have to censor somebody, that must be a threat. That's a threat. You don't have to eliminate non-threatening material. So, yeah,
most definitely. Couple last topics here. So one of the things that you said there was. We talked about the Antarctic Treaty and how we can't go everywhere. Now, you took a trip to Alaska.
Yes.
Is that in this playlist?
Yes, it is. That's the 100% proof that the sun circles above us. And that actually ties into that observation with Matt and Luke, because what I did, I went to Alaska. Okay. I was just thinking about this, like the whole idea of the flat earth model. Depending on where you are on Earth, the time of year, here in the Pacific Northwest, we have longer days in the summer. We have longer days in the summertime. And so,
that's why we have daylight savings time.
Yeah, because we're like closer to the center. And the center is the North Pole. So you're at the North Pole, that's the center. You got the North Star, that's the center. And just like the stars are making these perfect concentric circles around the North Star, the sun and the moon are doing the exact same thing. They're making a clockwise circuit around, the Earth too.
I actually have this map downstairs in the studio, and a lot of people who come through the studio are always asking. I'm like, oh, that's the flat Earth map.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just put that out there, like, yeah, that's what it is. And so, I looked at that and I saw that from Rob Skiba. Rob Skiba put that up a long time ago, just showing how the sun and the moon are moving, in this clockwise pattern around the North Pole. So I was looking at that like, well, the best time to get some footage of that will be around summer solstice. And so what I did, I set about, I booked a trip, and I had my dude Chris out there, and what you're seeing on the screen now.
Yeah, okay, so from what I can tell, because if you ever research flat Earth, you'll come across how flat Earth starts and all these different things. You'll find that we all have the same image of a cartoon in our head, and it tells you inner crust, outer crust, core, mantle, and then mantle, and then the core. And when I say those things, for everybody listening, for everybody watching, we're all picturing that same cartoon from the science books that we were indoctrinated with.
Yeah.
Now, why this picture, I believe it to be here, and Daryl Marble could tell me if I'm wrong, is because the deepest that we've ever dug in Earth, I think they did it in Russia, was about 8 miles, and then they fucking abandoned that shit before it was the space race, it was the space of the center of the Earth.
Yeah.
And after about 8 miles of digging, and they never got past the first layer,
right,
they gave up.
Yeah, they were pretty much done. And I mean, so that whole cross section showing the globe, the crust, the mantle, the inner core, outer core, and all that bull crap, that's all speculation. It's just cartoons,
Right.
because the deepest they went, like you said, is about 8 miles. So what this was right here, there was this dude in the flat earth community who was he was coming after anybody that was so-called pushing the AE map. And saying that you have to stop doing that. You're making us look bad and all that. And he's like attacking me. I'm like, man, bro, I tried to smooth stuff out with you. So what that was showing was a subliminal shot.
Right.
Because here, take it back a few seconds, and I'll break it down for you. And that was a subliminal shot. And his name is Flat Earth Ass Hole.
I think I've come across that page.
Yeah. So
Flat Earth asshole. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. Okay.
So I was talking about there are even some people in the community who are, out here attacking folks for, having the AE map on their T-shirt or whatever, like I did. And I'm like, dude, shut up. Come see me, and we can talk about this.
And if anybody ever wants an unbiased place to hold debates, Mogul Minds is definitely a place to have that, where I'll take a backseat and I'll run this whole show from behind the thing and only come in to switch topics and things like that. I'm pretty sure at this point nobody's really trying to debate you. Since my last Flat Earth debate, a lot of people have called me all types of things, told me I was all types of flat earthers, and said things that I've never said. The issue is I often invite them to a public debate against a flat earther that's not me.
Right.
Many people have taken me up on that.
Right. I mean, I don't even bother to debate a whole lot of time. I'm just like, dude, I put so much stuff out there. I'm like, I'm just here to make people think. I'm like Dan Calloway out here,
Right.
I'm just here to make you think.
I rock with Dan Calloway too.
So
in this experiment, you guys go to Alaska. What's the purpose of going to Alaska?
Well, my man Chris, he already lived out there. Okay. So and I put the plan up there. I'm really transparent about all the stuff that I do. I try not to.
For the listeners, if you could just tell the plan, because they can't see this.
Okay, so the plan of me going to Alaska, I went to Alaska during summer solstice. That's the 21st of June. Now, in Alaska, because Alaska's so close to the center of Earth, the North Pole, they have the 24-hour sunlight. They have the midnight sun in Alaska. So it'll be like midnight and the sun's still up. It's still bright outside. It's kind of crazy to live through that. But the plan was to go to these different places, get time lapse of the sun making its clockwise circuit around the sky, and then upload that as best I can, just to put that information out there for everybody to see, because there was that video that was earlier where somebody had actually followed the sun for a few days, and you could just see the sun up in the sky going down, up, down, and they were just following the sun around in this 360 while it was making that clockwise circuit. So I wanted to go there. I'm like, okay, so I'm going to point at this tower right here. This is going to be the start point. And I start to do this time lapse.
Right.
And I like showed everybody I was using this this app called Dioptra, where it would show the degrees, it would show the azimuth, it would show that you're doing a 360. So when you like turn your camera around, you can see the degrees and all that where the camera's facing. So I put that out there and I took pictures every hour on the hour. I set up my equatorial mount with my camera so it would follow the sun 15 degrees per hour and all that stuff. And I thought it was one of my more well thought out observations.
Right. And just for the listeners, you're in what's this, Fairbanks, Alaska?
Yeah, I was in Fairbanks, Alaska on day one, and we started at a place called Murphy's Dome up on this really tall hill. So here, for people who can see it, pause it right here. Pause it. Pause. Go back. What? Half a second.
I went back too far.
No, it's cool. It's cool. So if you stop it right there. Okay. So boom, right there. So we're in Alaska right now. Okay. So it's like 2 a.m. and we're still seeing the sun right there in the distance.
Oh wow, yeah, that doesn't look like 2 a.m. in Chicago.
Yeah, straight up. So check it. at that point, if you go on the timeanddate.com and you go back to June 21st, 2018, I believe it was. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 2018 when that happened. You go back to that date, 2 in the morning, you're going to see that the sun is in high noon over Africa. So I'm in Alaska and I'm looking directly at the sun the same time as high noon in Africa.
And for people who are unfamiliar, in the flat Earth model, not only do the sun and moon circle above us, but they also move in and out, right? Like away and closer to the equator.
Yes. Yes, okay. And that's what happens. That's what happens halfway through the year. So summer solstice, that's that 3-day period where the sun's making the tightest circle around. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
That's when the sun's making the tightest circle around the center, right?
Okay.
And so that's
why right now in the video it looks way closer to you. It almost looks overhead.
Yeah. So I mean that's just. I had to adjust the camera because the sun will like come up and then I got to move the camera upward. But when it goes further away, it gives the appearance that it's going down. But I could keep eyes on the sun for 24 hours straight. And so what I did, I got that time lapse 24 hours. And then after that time lapse, I put that video back up of the time lapse. And then each hour I would paste in the picture that I took. And with the time that I took the picture, so I mean, this one was a labor. It was
right.
Like, this was putting in the work. You know what I mean?
Right.
Unlike people who just say, "Well, Google said," nah, man, I'm not hearing that.
So because I know I don't have the time to go and do it at this current point.
Yeah.
I'd rather have somebody who's done it on here to talk to me about what they actually experienced while we show the people what they actually did.
Yeah, so I mean this is it right here. This is that shot. Click right there. 3:02 a.m.
Right.
We're still looking at the sun, and that's when it was, high noon in Africa right there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so 3:02 a.m. It shows your latitude and longitude, your altitude, and I don't know what MSL is.
All that good stuff. I don't know that either. Don't worry about it. So I'm saying it's like 3 in the morning. I'm still seeing the sun. But
this looks like 7 p.m. in Chicago when the sun's getting ready to go down.
You know what I'm saying?
Or maybe 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m. when the sun's getting ready to come up, but it's still clearly there.
Yes. So at that distance, and this goes back into that whole biblical perspective. Like, dude, it just makes sense that the North Pole would be God's throne because that's where you could,
the North Star.
Yeah, I'm like a simple dude. I'm like picturing God on like one of those chairs where you can like spin it around, look at different stuff. So I mean that just looking down, like, okay, cool. You got the swivel chair.
Does the chair levitate, or do you think it actually is grounded?
I think it might levitate. You know what I'm saying? He just spins it around, looks down. What's going on in Africa? Oh, okay, let me see. What's happening in Australia? Spin the chair around over here. All right. Italy's looking kind of crazy right now, but whatever. I mean, just simple stuff like that. But that would be the vantage point.
Right. From that North Star, you'd be able to literally just go in a circle and see everything.
Yeah.
And I never thought about it or had the visual of that perspective, but now that you say it like that, it actually makes a lot of sense. And I'm going to make sure to bring that up with allegedly Dave, because we're only going to spend a very brief period of time on Flat Earth and move more into, he has kind of a list of biblical truths that, like things that have happened throughout history that we just cannot deny, and then who the people of the book are.
Yes.
So when that is happening, I'm definitely going to touch base with you and make sure you're aware. So that way, if you want to call in, you definitely can.
Okay, cool.
And now anything else to put a bow in this Alaska topic and this observation?
Man, I mean, the second video is actually better than this one, honestly, because we did 2 days. We did actually.
So you did do 2 days of these trips.
Yeah, 2 days of observations in Alaska. So we were in Fairbanks. It's in the same video.
Okay.
And here, if you just pull it forward.
All right, so day 2.
Yeah,
roadside rest stop, TOK.
Yeah, in
Alaska.
in Tok, Alaska. So this one, we actually had a clear sky.
Okay.
And we seem to be up a little bit higher. We were noticing that there were planes, doing more chemtrailing when we were further down south. So what me and Chris did, after that 24-hour observation, we packed the car up, we go back to his house, we, shower up, get something to eat, and we just chill, get some sleep for a while, and then we get back on the road. And we went 3 hours south, drove 3 hours south till we got to this rest stop. And we stop here, we look around, we're like, yeah, this is perfect. And
I didn't know there was black people in Alaska until today.
Dude, me either. I was like, bro, you stay in Alaska? Okay, cool. So, we came out here when we did this observation, and what it is, that orange pole right there, that's the start point.
Right.
And what I did with this one, I was just showing that I took the camera and I went in that 360 just like that. And then put the pictures up just like I did the first day, but it wasn't near as cloudy as it was the first day out there. I even had this big kind of dead tree right here. I had to put that up just to show that the sun's moving. So that little tree you see right there, I propped that up. I had some rocks holding it.
Because otherwise people wouldn't be able to gauge like whether or not the object is actually moving. So for the listeners, he has time-lapse footage, and this is going to be very anticlimactic if you can't actually see it. So you're probably going to want to at least see this portion on the video. Yep. You can see this either by going to the video in the description of this episode on Daryl's page, or just go to Mogul Minds Network, YouTube, or mogulminds.net, and you'll be able to find our episode. Now, we can clearly see that this is a time lapse because of how much the clouds are moving. Mm-hmm. Even when you look outside, you can see clouds moving, but they move slow as shit. Yep. And this looks pretty fast. So I think, like you said, there was a lot more of a clear day. You can really see how the sun is only lighting up portions of the sky. And that goes into the conversation that we had earlier. Yep. So you didn't even end here, as far as observations go.
No.
Like, there's still one more observation that I wanted to get into, and that would be your laser test observation.
Yes, the old laser test. That there, sir, that was pretty much where I kind of retired from flat Earth for the most part. Like,
after the laser test, so Cheryl did want to let us know. Her cousin lived in Anchorage, Alaska for 20 plus years. They also are melanated. So fantastic. there is a few melanated people in Alaska. Which video am I clicking on here, there?
It's the second from the bottom. It's a 7-minute video.
Undeniable flat Earth.
That's it.
Proof 10 mile. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this last video we're getting ready to show as we get ready to wrap here is your laser test observation. And again, I like how you start your videos showing people the overhead aerial maps the same way they'd see it on Google Maps, and then you show, again, you're using whatever type of app this is that shows all of your latitude, longitude, everywhere you are, and things like that. So tell us about this observation and what we're about to see here.
Okay, so what I'm showing here on the screen, I'm establishing my location with this. I got a pin in the 2 points where I'm at. Where I was at Saltwater State Park in Des Moines, Washington. My guy Mark, he was at Point Defiance Zoo, out on the pier in Tacoma. So across that water, that was 10.3 miles of distance between he and I. And so I'm establishing my location. I just there were some pictures that I took. I faded those in. Showing the islands just to show you this is exactly where I'm at. And then right what you're seeing on the screen, you're seeing him turning on the laser, pointing it at the direction where I'm at. So I'm on the phone with him, recording live on my side. He's recording on his side, and you're seeing that laser moving from side to side. I'm on the phone with him. I'm like, hey, move it a little bit to the right. Okay, move it a little bit to the left. And you can see it popping up on the camera where you can see the blue aperture from the laser. That's the point of origin from this laser, 10.3 miles away. Now,
why is that distance important?
That distance is important because, again, if we're living on a globe, we have the equations to calculate what the curvature should be between one point and another. So at 10.3 miles, that should be well over 70
pull
feet.
up the curvature calculator as
Okay, cool. That should be like 70 feet of curvature between us right there. And the idea of being able to see that laser from that distance above the surface of that water, that shows direct line of sight is what I call it, because I'm sitting here, I'm like, my camera on that tripod at Saltwater State Park, that is like 3 feet above the ground. Because my camera's on a tripod, it's only 3 feet above the ground, which is like right by the water. Now, over on Mark's side, it's a little bit higher. The laser's up a little bit higher. Let's say it was up like 10 to 15, maybe 17 feet or whatever. Okay, and this is what I'm doing right now because they're like, somebody's gonna say, no, he was a little bit higher than that. I'm like, okay, so let's say he was 10 feet above sea level. All right, cool. And then somebody says, well, what if it's a little bit higher than that? And then back on the video, I'm like, okay, so let's say it's 15 feet above sea level.
I got your eye height at 3 feet, the distance at 10 miles.
Yeah.
So it actually draws a little picture for you of how much curvature you guys should have. Yeah, you guys definitely should have dipped and only been looking at water right here in this specific area right here.
Exactly.
Should have been over 2 miles of curvature.
2 miles of curvature? Jeez,
it says 2.12 miles to the horizon distance. Oh no, target hidden height 41 feet.
Yeah. So
41 feet.
All right, so let's say it's 41 feet. So there should be a bulge of water 41 feet high between my position and where he was at. But you and I both know how lights work. We know how lasers work. If you see a little red dot on your shirt, you're not going to automatically look down and say, nobody's pointing a gun at me right now. Refraction.
Yeah.
Nah. Somebody's probably like way, way far away. And, if they fire a bullet, no, that bullet's going to go straight to where that damn laser is. Right. That red dot is just the same as this blue laser right here. That is direct line of sight. That laser is firing in a direct straight beam, obviously, like every other laser. And so the fact that
you guys
we can
intentionally use blue to not scare people.
No, it was it was Mark's laser, and it just happened to be blue.
Oh, okay.
And it just worked out. And this right here, I was live streaming. When we did this, and we got it right on the first try.
Nice.
Nice. As far as I know, that was the first time anybody in the flat Earth community had actually successfully pulled off a live laser observation at that distance, for everybody to see. And that's exactly what we did.
There's a lot of people who will see this evidence and data, and this is why I made it a point to split it up amongst the podcast, at which point we show your proofs and have these conversations, because people like to drop in and out, pick and cherry pick points based on that. So it's a little bit more difficult to do when we start with it, when we hit it in the middle, and when we end on it.
Yeah.
Daryl, I really appreciate you sitting down with us. I want to make sure to get any closing statements. If you could let people know what you're working on, where to find you, and your socials, that would definitely be great.
Okay, cool. I'm the link for the description or a link for the YouTube channel is going to be in there connected. I'm D Marble on YouTube. By all means, check out that.
I'm going to pull it up for you right now. What's the YouTube here? Actually, we got your YouTube channel pulled up here. I'm going to go to your YouTube channel so people can see where they need to subscribe to you.
Cool. Yeah. Come
so
through.
D Marble, this is the picture. Yep. Over almost 52,000 subscribers while being shadow banned.
It used to be 52,000. They knocked off like 1,200 people off my rolls.
So people just been dropping all of a sudden for some reason.
It used to be over 52,000. That's the crazy part. Now I'm looking back at it like 51.8. Really?
Upward of 7 million views.
Yeah.
So clearly, whether people agree or disagree, there is something there that people are watching. There is a reason that people are coming to hear and see what you have to say and are doing.
Yeah, back in the day. Also, I rap every now and then, so check out my music.
Oh, we definitely gonna have to have. So One Light Records, the guys who kept comments, and they're actually the engineers and producers out of the studio here that we have here.
All
So
right.
maybe we're gonna have them send you some beats, and maybe just maybe we'll be able to create some conspiratorial, actually good music. I think B.O.B is the only one who's pulled that off thus far.
All right, cool. Yeah. Holla at me. Here, check out that song, The Tribute. Me and King 7. My dude
This
out
one.
of
No, not Lyrical Assassin.
Oh, Lyrical Assassin is ridiculous. Check that one out for real. But the one right next to it, my man, he actually invited me onto this track. I went out to St. Louis and I put some verses to this beat. It was all about the police brutality and all that stuff. So definitely check that one out.
Most definitely we'll do that. Maybe we'll figure out a way to incorporate it in one of our different shows, but we're definitely gonna touch base on it. We'll talk about it with the One Light guys.
Yeah.
And this is where we can subscribe to you. Make sure, guys, that you turn on notifications, because for any and all of us that are shadow banned and just people that YouTube ain't trying to push, for the most part, you will not know that people are uploading new content, new videos. D Marble, if after like a week or so of this being up, you decide that you want to throw it up on your page, you're more than welcome to do that. You don't even need to hit me about it.
Cool.
Just let me know when it's up, because as long as we can share the information, get these our whole thing is join the conversation, make sure that the conversations are being had.
All right.
You got anything you coming up on, you working on that the people can look forward to in 2021?
No, not so much YouTube related.
Not for the people.
Yeah, I haven't been like active putting out content. I'm probably going to be getting a little more active once I get into this retirement situation. But if anybody out there is looking for an opportunity to earn a passive income, by all means, hit me up, shoot me an email, because we're, me and my man Vegan Warrior Kurt Ingram.
Where can they email you so I can put it at the bottom while you tell them?
They can email me at contact@dmarble.info.
Okay.
And hit me up about that, and we can get you some information as far as how that works, because I can tell you from this particular situation, I've made over $150,000 since last July. So, and
I definitely need to figure out how to make $15,000 even.
yeah. I'll get with you, man. Just hit me up after this, and we'll get you in get you the information you need.
Yeah, so we're definitely gonna have to link. I still work a day job, so I work my day job from the studio. So I'm definitely making a point to stay in tune, and I want to build and create with all the different creators and entrepreneurs, people that I see doing things that I respect and love, sharing information that I think is just important, even if I disagree with you. Yeah. I'd rather have that conversation and flesh out those ideas about why it is that I disagree with you, why you're having these types of conversations. So I think if nothing else today, at the very least, we proved that not all flat earthers are crazy, irrational people. You seem like a pretty rational guy who actually goes out, puts your money, time, and energy where your mouth is, does these experiments. And I think that that's something that's very much lacking in the flat earth community. People get caught up a lot in trying to argue and fight against people's cognitive dissonance, when that's just not the way cognitive dissonance works.
Yeah. I believe, a lot of people are like, I got to see it to believe it. I'm like, okay, I'll show you.
Yeah, and I think that we kind of proved that. I'll probably, and if you want to do that, it's perfectly fine with us. I'll probably chop up like little bits for IGTV. If there's any specific time markers or topics that you guys, the listeners, want chopped up on social media, let us know. D Marble, same for you. If there's any specific pieces that you want chopped up, you definitely let us know. As far as closing statements go, guys, before I go ahead and get out of here one more time, this upcoming, we also host events, D Marble. So if you're ever in Chicago, definitely try to let us know ahead of time. Yeah. So we'll try to sync up our events, or at least make sure that you get you some free tickets. But cool. We got our outside comedy show coming up this Saturday, next Saturday, technically this Saturday, if Sunday's the start of the week. this Saturday, 7/24. We're going to have this audio episode up by probably tomorrow evening. So by Tuesday, you'll be able to listen to the whole thing on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those places. Anybody with any questions for D Marble, we're going to make sure to put all his contact info, his bio, whatever. D Marble, send me what you want in the caption or in the bio of the episode. I'll make sure that it's there, both on YouTube and on all the places to find you and everything. All right, cool. Come to our Outside comedy show. You can use the promo code Mogul VIP for 40% off. That's a good chunk off. Come through. We make all types of infused products. I don't know how you feel about that, D Marble, but they're good. You cook with the butter. You don't even your van won't even smell, dude.
I'm already knowing. Yeah.
But if I could figure out a way to get some dry ice, I'd ship you some.
All good, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'll be in touch though. Absolutely.
Most definitely. I appreciate you, sir. Anything else you got for the listeners before we cut out here?
Oh no, I mean, as always, I just encourage people to do your own research. Don't believe everything that you're told by these so-called experts, because if they'll lie to you about one thing, they'll lie to you about another thing. And do your thinking for yourself. Don't let other people tell you what to think. Figure out how to think, and then each thing, just inspect it, try to find truth in it that matches up to your reality, and go from there. So.
Most definitely. Appreciate you, Cheryl. Big thanks. Appreciate you for joining in. Much appreciated. To everybody that appreciates you, One Light. To everybody that joined, you guys are great. This has been Real Talk. You've been D Marble. Much appreciated.
All right. Appreciate it. And as always, stay flat.
Stay flat.
That's what I do.